I'm Yossi Kamen. Welcome to Among Chassidim by Der Herr, an ongoing Farbrengen about life as a Chassid, our vibrant connection with the Rebbe, and inspired living shaped by the way he teaches us each and every day. Okay, Mendel, how are you? Good to see you again. I think I saw you last time by your big speech by the Eil Yudalf Nissen. Although I'm told that if I want to actually, be in the crowd.
It was Royan as Hanishma.
Right, because I saw you speaking, but those that watched it via the live stream, I think we're able to listen better. It's hard to listen in a crowd for some reason.
Yeah.
It was a good experience for you.
I'm not used to such Eissprachen for Chassidus Farbrengen.
Experience? Today it's very popular. Everyone's into experiences, how to experience.
Whatever, die Chazed Dvorim von Teire Shebeksav und von Teire Shebalpeh. And ich weiß.
Or you could say, like the Rebbe said, I think in Alphanis Lamed Zayin, that everything that we're saying here is other from Taten, other from Shver. And Siderena, I think it's from Shver and Siderena. So it's
yeah.
You're saying you try to do the same thing.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned in the last few days that one of the nice things about with Schomburg Lipsker is he says the words of Torah but in English. He didn't reinterpret it, or wasn't malbish it in all his not all his whatever.
You're saying he didn't figure out how to say it. He just said it in English. I think I mentioned this. I don't know if to you or to one of our groups, but I think I found a dogma of this. The way he did this was great. Shalom Lipsker, I'm very inspired about from him. I mean, he had connection with him with Der Herr, but just Bechal as a person. So Jerry Levine, the famous Jerry Levine from Chanukah Live, he lives in Bal Harbor. I mean, that's his whole thing. He was the director of Aleph Institute at one point. I think that's how he got involved in the whole Chanukah Live. So Jerry Levine posted a video of the shul in Bal Harbor. I think it's like when they were finishing, like when they were opening, like he created like a film. So I think this was in when we interviewed Shalom Lipsker in the Herr. I think it's in there. Maybe I'm wrong, but when he was writing about opening the shul or starting the shlichus in Surfside in Bal Harbor, he got an answer from the Rebbe, Nochin Hadavar. Okay, so most people would be like, okay, I got an answer from the Rebbe, positive, or they say the Rebbe told me Nochin Hadavar, yeah, approved. The Shalom Lipsker speaking on this video that Jerry Levine posts, and he says, this shul is it's a few months after Gimel Tammuz, Mamash, like we're right around then. And he says, this whole shul is the inspiration of the Rebbe, and it's all from the Rebbe's blessings. The Rebbe told us that this shul is a good idea. And I'm thinking, I know the background, that the Rebbe told him, but no, it's a good idea. First of all, he takes it literal. Second of all, he says it in English. And third of all, he imparts that with this Gehillah. It's a good, right? So it's like what you're saying.
If you look at the English letters of the Rebbe, a lot of stuff the Rebbe wrote in English. A lot of times the Rebbe is also very close to the Hebrew text. The Rebbe is translating a proper translation, not literal. But that's what a lot of times the Rebbe will have. The letters will be like that as well.
It's true.
Giving over Dvar Hashem in English, basically.
Yeah, I basically Lachreina. Every morning I learn letters from the Rebbe in English for Shachris, 2 letters, and it's very much.
Where do you have it?
I'm on a WhatsApp group. I think Rebbe Response. They send every day like a PDF of 2 letters, and it's pashwa what you're saying. Like there's so many things that like the Rebbe, like it's not just like a pasuk that the Rebbe says in English. That too. There'll be like a quote from a pasuk in like a translation. That's like the archaic translation. No, I'm talking about the other things. I don't know, just the way the Rebbe writes, the way the Rebbe speaks. just in English, but it's the same thing. The same thing applies. It's just in English.
So now I'm clear in the Indian a little. So what's why the Rebbe can't repackage it? That's the word I was looking for. Packaging. Why does the Rebbe insist on doing that? What's the point? And I think Uli Shleimer, people at the end of the day, they are what's going to have an impact on them. What are they going to think about more? Not necessarily something that it has a great muscle or something with a great, beautiful, more modern, relatable language. That isn't necessarily what is going to have a bigger impact on them, or that they're going to think about more. Yeah, it sounds better for the person who came up with the new, came up with it. They came up with a new chap for the weekly email. But Lepoil, what impacts? How are the people going to take it? Lav Dafka, it's more effective.
Are you saying that in order to differentiate between any pop culture, like the pop psychology, we don't need that. That's not what we contribute to the world. We contribute Torah. So we're going to say it in English.
In other words, like take the Marshall, the book about the Rebbe.
Which book?
Joseph Telushkin's book. Rebbe.
Yeah.
Dein Indian.
I had very little to do with it, but had some. Okay, go ahead.
The hafotza of it.
Yeah.
So I think that book is not. It's not didn't repackage stuff. That's partially. It deals with a lighter side. It deals with stories about the Rebbe. It gives over a lot of inyanim of the Rebbe through anecdotes, through interactions. So that there's truth to that. There's the sichas and maimonim. There's an area where it's more a little lighter, and then comes a point where you're going to give over heavier stuff, deeper things, more fundamental things. It's going you're going to lose some of the crowd. You're going to lose some of the crowd when you start dealing with that. But at the end of the day, repackaging it is not. It's
interesting. I have besides the hair is everything in my life, but besides that, I also live in Stamford, Connecticut, and in the Kehillah Shlichus over here. So there's a yid that I became very close with. That the first time I met him, he never heard of the Rebbe. He knew, he connected afterwards that there was Bachram. They would come to his office to put on film, but he never connected and knew what's going on. But he never heard of the Rebbe, basically. By now, he's calling me and telling me, let's go to the Eil tonight, But it's time to see the Rebbe, he tells me. So I started off with him. The first thing, you never heard of the Rebbe? Take this book. I gave him Telushkin. He read the whole thing from cover to cover. He was floored. He was blown away, etc. But I felt like that was the introduction because I always give him books. He reads every morning with his coffee. He reads something from the Rebbe.
Yeah.
So I gave him certain books. I'm not going to mention which books I gave him that he didn't like. The repackaged ones, he wasn't so into. I gave him the book from Kahas, all the Rebbe's Chtavim Klalim in English. He loved it. I gave him.
That's a perfect example.
Could the Sichas in English? He loved that.
In andere Wörter, man darf bringen what's the lotion? You have to bring the cow to the water, bring the animal to the water, not always bringing the bring nicht the brunnen to the animal, because not just because you want to make people. It's not the point. Is not to make people have to work harder to get Dvar Hashem. The point is, do you want to be Mephitz Mayonis? Like the Rebbe always says, not even Mei Mayonis. Veretnoch, if you're not even bringing them Mei Mayonis, you're bringing them something that looks like Mei Mayonis. You're not bringing them Dvar Hashem. It's not going to have the pu'ula of the word of a Rebbe on them. It's not going to bring Mashiach. I mean, it sounds good. It sounds good to the people. Someone who came up with it. Maybe the person listens to it is impressed with the language, but it's not going to have. It's not going to have the pu'ula. Period. You were saying about Schoenberg Lipsker about saying how this is all the Rebbe's idea.
Yeah.
Also, you see from there that a real chassid wants to attribute everything to the Rebbe. He's not. He's not worried about getting credit.
I was a staff member in Parksville. So I went over to Rabbi Moshe Tov one night, and he was, in the center over there outside the Beth. So I asked him, "There's Yachakala comes." I said, "Ask Rabbi Moshe Tov, can you tell us like how the Yachakala start? What's the story behind it?" He was very appreciative that I'm asking. So I asked him, "It was your idea or this for Rebbe?" He was like, what's the point? He didn't want to answer. I think in the history I learned later that he was a hatzah that he gave to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe really is makabel. That's not the point. Like it's the Rebbe's Inyan. The hishtaushlos, how that happened, that I might have wrote. He didn't even want to tell me. He didn't answer the question properly.
You remember when you did that panel, like the guys who worked on like Bema parades?
Yeah, Hilda Krinsky and who else? I forgot who else was on it. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the whole Elam. So one of the guys there, I'm speaking slow. It's gonna have to be sped up eventually. No. One of the guys, he said, Mem Zayin, he said basically they worked every year so hard, and Yankel Hecht got all the credit and was the face of it. Grade, somebody told me, one of in Beis Rebbe, he brings, whenever he brings on the kapuster, he writes echad me harabonim nechte hagoyin mechaber, something like that. Anyways, he has like a code name for the kapuster. He doesn't bring the Einik Lechel Tzemach Tzedek by name, because if it was too, at least for him, it was too political.
But wasn't he involved in that? Bechavsky, I'm saying, wasn't Beis Rebbe like...
Bechavsky's not Beis Rebbe. Beis Rebbe is Hillman.
Oh, but he was a chassid of the Marash?
No, he was a chassid of the Kapuster. Bechavsky was a chassid of the Liadir.
So he didn't want to get involved in the whole thing, basically.
So he didn't want to get involved, and he wanted the book to be accepted and to be. He didn't want it to be burned in anyone's homes.
Right. So he kept it neutral. Okay.
Echad mi nechte harav. He always writes when he wants to talk about. Usually it's on the Kapuster. He does have, by the way, he did come to Lubavitch and he did get some information from the Rebbe Rashab about the Rebbe Marash. Shamaynu Kshayinu B'Lubavitch, and he even writes in his Akdama that we were well accepted even in other Chatzedes of the Tzemach Tzedek's Einiklach. He clearly the Rebbe relies on him as a expert source. Alter Rebbe, because he was a few generations removed, sometimes his information is a little bit off. Yeah. But as far as Tzemach Tzedek goes, the
Rebbe wanted to be printed by Kahas, the Beis Rebbe.
Later, yeah, of course. Besides,
so what he say? So what are you saying? No.
Anyway, so I was saying, Echad like Trump says about the weave.
The weave. Yeah.
I have to get back to.
So you're doing the weave, okay? So that's good.
No, it wasn't going on. So
I think he also says as long as you get back to it. Yeah.
So one of Berel Santa's grandchildren, Echad Berel
Habesht.
Said that actually Tavshin Yud Gimel, not Yud Gimel, he wasn't there yet in Yud Gimel. Tavshin Tezayin, he was the main person he was the main one arranging the
Lag parade.
It wasn't a parade, Tavshin Tezayin. It was
like a rally. Yeah.
And after JJ saw how big of a deal it is, so he decided that the next following year, Tavshin Yud Zayin, Sman Gromer, Ratach Lag Beimer, Tavshin Yud Zayin was the first parade, so he wanted to be the face of it after he saw it was worthwhile. Are we allowed to mention these names in this context, or?
I think names are fine as long as we're not saying a real lashon hara.
Gam sinosam, gam kinosam of them. Yeah, at this point, I don't think there's any I don't think there's any friction between those families in particular. Anyways, so so he said, JJ said, I'm going to be running I'm going to be emceeing the parade. He says, who are you? I never heard of you. Anyways, Kitzer. So he asked Chadakov if JJ is shaykh to this whole thing. So apparently JJ Chadakov asked the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said the Svertim put him over there, and he never took away his job. He never took away his position, so he's still in charge. Anyway, so Meyoz, he was the.
That's okay.
Let me see. I think there was an issue with him and Yossi Goldstein Tavshin Chav Gimel, right?
Yeah, there was part of the Rebbe didn't come out to the parade there. I think was connected to that
Because of that.
So I heard once. I don't know. Yeah.
So
what are you saying about? You're saying about the
anyway.
panel.
So basically, one of the guys he was saying about finally Mamzayin, basically they were feeling good because JJ was started thanking all the Bachrim.
Yeah.
And then right away the Rebbe cut him off and said, especially the boy, especially the children, the boys and the girls,
especially the children, the boys and the girls. And that was the middle while JJ was thanking. Okay, so the
Rebbe the Rebbe cuts him off.
Yeah.
If you only know the clip from what's Tauger's video called Hand in Hand.
Yeah.
Then they start off.
Then it starts off with that.
But listen to the phrase. The Rebbe cuts in, and he was like, he's trying to have a whole chira of what lesson the Rebbe wanted to teach us by not really letting them get their 5 minutes of fame.
Right.
What do you mean? It's for that you were able to be part of the parade. You're a little bach. I mean, what exactly? Yeah, of course. There has to be someone getting the kids. There has to be someone building the floats. Someone setting up the props. But now you're going to say like, the Rebbe spoke for an hour. He spoke to the kids. But then without us, there would be really no one for the Rebbe to speak to. I mean, who would say something like that? I mean, he wouldn't say the gentleman wouldn't say that either. But I'm saying that the concept. He worked hard. There's no question. But
so you're reminding me that I was recently going through my old voice memos. I don't know. It's an activity. You should try that one day. I found some good eitzres over there from a few years ago. Anyhow, different people that I spoke to, for the hair related work. So one of them is a phone conversation I had with Rabbi Yossi Gerari in Detroit, and we're with Benji Pearson, David Askin Zainikel.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what it was for. Maybe it was for an article. Maybe it was Tamazai. So he was Rabbi Gerari was explaining the Kuda of David Askin. So he says, so the Rebbe, I don't remember exactly the story, but someone told David Askin to go down because verstelt, he's blocking.
Yeah.
And the Rebbe said, David is nicht master. You know the story? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's if I'm saying it wrong, correct me. So Rabbi Gerari was going to hold beer. David is nicht master. He's explaining that Chossidus and Samach Vav, the Eved Nemon, there's an Eved Pashat. And Eved Nemon, it's great, but then Eved Pashat, right? Eved Pashat is higher, right? So is nicht master, the highest thing you can say about a Chassid is that his whole Indian is that he's a conduit for the Rebbe's Inyanim. Yeah, Taka, you have your own Chushim and you have your own Ramachivarim, and that's why the Rebbe needs the Shliach to do the work, the Ma'aseh B'Peil. But the Hechste Darge is that you're not master B'chal, you're not master in the Rebbe, you're a Gili of the Rebbe. So
yeah, so it was Megaret Yidavnis and a little bit on this Nikuda about a drop of water that reflects the sun. It's interesting in Simcha of Zion in Geras HaKodesh. One of the, I think it's in both, maybe in the beer, in the first one, he says that the tzaddik is like the sun that gives light to 600,000 stars. That's how he describes a nasi in that over there. So it's a similar Indian. Every chassid is a star. It means no shaila. A star is a big Indian. It says Hayim Yom even that every yid is a keichav b'shamayim. I mean, it's like, this is what in the Bible it says that God said the Jewish people will be like the stars. So it goes
Yeah.
back a little bit. So a star, same name even, that every Yid has enough light to be mayor of the whole world. But where does a star get his light from? He gets it from the sun. If the star decides to do his own thing, nothing. Nobody will see him. And he's not going to be light. He won't give any light. Nothing will come from that. Same Nakuda here is that there's no. I was even thinking. Chavches Nissen. What's the lashon? What does the Rebbe say? What?
Ich gebe es über jeden von euch. That lashon?
Yeah. Ich gebe es über jeden von euch. What does that mean? Literally, I mean, the same, similar in Nakuda to Ksavis Yehovis, but I'm giving it to you. So the Rebbe is giving it to you. It's not. It's not pshat that now the Rebbe could no longer do it, and now he needs you to take over. He's giving it to you. What does it mean he's giving it to you? That means if he doesn't give it to you, you don't have it. So if you have it, it's because he gave it to you. And if you still have it, it's because he continues giving it to you.
So you say, I understand. So you're saying it's be'etzem the Rebbe's.
It's be'etzem the Rebbe's. And whatever you do have is because the Rebbe is giving it to you.
But wasn't the Rebbe's point there that stop relying on one person?
Fine.
To negate every single Yid has to bring Mashiach. Wasn't that the Rebbe's point?
You're obviously
that it's wrong.
Chassidim
had a hard time. I just saw a clip. There was like an asifin on 70 that night. And Yisrael Shem Tov gets up. Rabbi, get this sirik. Like I forgot exactly what he said, but like no, we're not accepting it.
So a funny story, unrelated, mamish, but what's his name? The father of the Hechts, Shia Hecht. Shia Hecht came to the Rebbe. Was that 3 weeks after Yud Shvat Tavshin Yud, and he came with a kvittel to give to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe says to go to the Friedrich Rebbe's room and put it on the desk.
Cabinet.
The
Rebbe wrote cabinet. No, the Rebbe said that I karasi v'alatzin v'la cabinet. The Friedrich Rebbe's room is the cabinet.
So Shliach said, Rebbe, ich bin a Galicianer. Wir wissen nicht von keinen Tischen. Wir haben nur, we only give kvittel to Rebbes. So the Rebbe took it from him. Anyways, so yeah, I understand why what you're saying about Chavches Nissen. But
no, so you're saying that you're saying the Rebbe is not giving it over. It's the Rebbe gives the kayak or the ability or the opportunity to do it, something like that.
What if? Let's say
the
way some people understand this is that basically the Rebbe tried as hard as he could, and he accomplished whatever he accomplished, and now it wasn't enough. So now everyone has to give it their shot, basically.
Right. So
it's not their shot.
Tell me. I'm going to say what I think, and tell me if this is aligned.
Yeah.
To me, the Rebbe is saying very simple. I'm being marish and tumbling about Mashiach at like a yard and befrat and the let's the yard and although I'm not talking to a wall, I mean it seriously. Stop looking for me for inspiration, because I mean it seriously. So get to work. Let's go. The Rebbe is saying enough of listening to me talking about it, and therefore mirroring. Actually, take it for real. Now make it yours.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing? Meaning,
he's clarifying
the last thing the Rebbe wants to do.
So you're saying
the last thing the Rebbe wants is karasi and no one's with me. The Rebbe wants people to be with him. The Rebbe's picking up the Rebbe looks at us. The Rebbe doesn't talk down.
Yeah.
The Rebbe assumes because the Rebbe is an Nasi Adair, and the Rebbe is putting us and assuming that Sudam is Vemet Rebbe, and he's talking to us about real things. Let's say about Mashiach, right? So
Yeah, I
the Rebbe
understand. So
basically saying,
you're touching basically. Ich gebe es jedem von euch means that I actually meant that all of you should actually care about this also. I didn't just mean that you guys should sing to me when I talk about how much I care about it.
right?
The Rebbe wanted them to sing "We Want Mashiach" now also, but I'm saying the Rebbe you're saying the Rebbe is clarifying that I in other words, where you use Moshe Lagani Aleph that every person then in Deir Shvi, every single person has the responsibility.
I think so. I mean, that's the way I
Fine,
understand it.
That's for sure true as well.
But you're saying something different. You're saying that it's fakat
I'm just
even
being I'm
after.
medayek in the lashon of the Rebbe.
Okay, that's the
Ich
Rebbe.
gebe es iber. Ich gebe es iber. In other words, this is not you're gonna do the best that you can now. I'm giving you something, and I want you to be responsible to do the task that I'm giving you. But and a task is the wrong word. I'm giving you something, and I want you to do something with that. Everything we have is from the Eibishter, and he asks us to do mitzvahs with it.
Right.
It's
So
a pasuk in Pirkei
so I think it's connected. It's the same thing. Yeah. Well, so if you mentioned Talushkin, so we'll go on that track for a minute.
Okay.
So Jem made a video for 20 years for Gimel Tammuz. So they were trying to talk to a very secular audience or they had all these characters there. One of the people they had was half of them are not politically correct anymore. So if they would reproduce it, they probably would change it. But one of them was Alan Dershowitz.
I was going to say Alan Dershowitz. Yeah.
So Alan Dershowitz says a vart there. Says the Rebbe is not a typical leader that you think of. Most leaders, I think he says, have a power of the purse or the power of the sword. The Rebbe is just there to teach.
Power of persuasion.
Yeah, and it's the Rebbe's teachings that makes the Lubavitch movement. So I think B'chlal, that's people think. I was just discussing with somebody the other day that people think that outside of Lubavitch, and Shabbos, I was talking to someone outside of Lubavitch, the way we portrayed the Rebbe to the Welt, the reviving the world after the Holocaust, all this the shyness that we use. Someone might think that the Rebbe was Pasha, a CEO, sitting with the executives and maskiris and with a map, strategizing how we're going to conquer the world and take over Lubavitch here. It's not. I mean, there were heroes.
Harry Fogelman's Meissen. The in Tavshin Beis, the Rebbe was sitting in the small zal. He said, "The Shret ongehen mit Messibe Shabbos and mit einem in der Welt. The Sof is mit einem in der Welt."
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a strategy or it was a vision, but there was a. The Rebbe did have a map, no, of all the.
Yeah, so these things, there was elements of these things, but it's not the method. The method is whatever people don't understand, if they don't know what a Rebbe is, they don't understand. You were close to the Rebbe. Close to the Rebbe? Like, I was a chassid of the Rebbe. So, this goes back to the original thing. Chassid's whole strebung is to try to, there's an old Chassidic saying pre Deir Shvi. This was a very popular thing by old Rosh Chassidim. It seems Ken and the Rebbe akurat. Sure, you heard of this expression.
Zalman Moshe, I think, is officially.
I think maybe he said it a lot. Yeah, Ken and the Rebbe akurat. What does that mean? Accurately, we should know the Rebbe accurately. But the point is that it's a wunsch that Chassidim want. So the mechavan zayin to the Rebbe akurat. And that's exactly what it is. The Rebbe is the makir, the Maya. The Rebbe is representing Torah, representing Yiddishkeit, and telling us how to, Hamaiso Iker.
So, in other words, you're saying reflecting the Rebbe is the best. That's the way to canon the Rebbe akurat. You have to. There's no part of you that's milim on what the Rebbe and what the Rebbe stands.
I think this is why the Rebbe spoke about issues by Farbrengens. why did the Rebbe speak about, I don't know, Shleimus Haaretz by Farbrengens?
Yeah.
He could have just told Maskidis to give a message over to the prime minister or to the ambassador or whatever, or tell them straight directly when they came to the Rebbe in Yechidus. Why did the Rebbe speak about it by Farbrengens? I think the Rebbe needs...
That's actually a good word. It's actually good. Psalm, we'll get back there in a second, but there's Chossid-Rebbe says that the Beis Yisrael, actually, he was a Ger Chossid, I think, or want to be Ger Chossid. Remind me, we'll talk about Chossid Geja in a second. Bekesher to that. Chossid-Rebbe was by the, or maybe it was just an askins. He was asking, he was busy when he worked in Agudis Rabbanim or Agudis
Yisrael, I think.
Agudis Yisrael of America.
Yeah.
So the Beis Yisrael asked him. He knew that Chossid goes to see the Rebbe. He says, "Why does I understand that the Rebbe has a? When was he around? When did he go? He died. Lamed Zion. Beis Yisrael died. He passed away. Tetzaveh, what's it called? Around Purim, around before Purim. He passed. So there was a good amount of Shleimus Haaretz. Maybe Yehudi was referring to, perhaps. I don't remember the exact. I could check. I think it's a gem interview even. So he said Beis Yisrael asked Chatzkel, why does the Rebbe do this in public? Can't he just tell the Lavish Askanim to go talk to the Chavrei Knesset and work it out with them? Why does he have to do this in public? It's not covered that the Rebbe should sit there and scream about these stuff in public. So I think when it came back to the Rebbe told him, because he doesn't rely on the Askanim, because the Askanim are going to distort things based on what's most beneficial to them, as they did in Tafshin Nun and Tafshin Mem Tesem and Ches Mem Zayin, whatever, Vadvorim Arukim.
Right.
But deliberately, the Rebbe wanted Askanim to work on it. Obviously, a regular Bacher by Farbrengens has no influence in the Knesset. But first of all, by saying it in public, the message got to a lot of people directly without Askanim. And also, even if Askanim were working on it, they know they can't get away with distorting anything, because Kol Olam Kuli heard exactly what the Rebbe's words are. As the Rebbe tells, there's even a Megillah Shleimus Haaretz. It's actually a minor. The Rebbe tells, what's his name, Lipa Kurzweil, Yesh tape mizeh. He wants to know what the Rebbe's shit on a certain Indian is about Camp David. Yesh tape mizeh. You go listen to the tape. So Shaila, that's why the Rebbe wanted it to be in public. Stam, you're saying, but to get to Chossid-Rebbe, and I don't know if he's a ger or not, but I was der Mant, Yisrael Jacobson's book, he brings that the Friedrich Rebbe said when he was in America, Tafresh Tzadik, that there's 3 types of Chassidim. You know this one?
Yeah.
It
was recently printed in the head of this line.
Oh, really?
Say it.
Chossid Geja, Chossid Nusach, Chossid Chabad.
Chossid Geja is a negative thing in that context.
Chossid Geja is always a negative thing.
No, I once saw Sichel Friedrich Rebbe. He talks very highly about the concept of. But go on. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Chossid Geja is someone basically who they don't look like a chassid, but they have chassidish blood. They have chassidish blood. They come from chassidim, so that's their shaychus. They come from chassidish, from families of chassidim. They feel a shaychus to chassidus because it's their family heritage. Like the Rebbe's Matar and Farbrengens, the guy who is in his office has a picture of his grandfather.
His grandfather, yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Is it? It is Kislev Tavshin Lamed?
I think it's later. It's a video, so it has to be later. It's a Yubis Tamas Farbrengens, I think.
You ever listen? I ever re-listened to the story about the guy who came to America and his brother showed him around this big house?
Yeah, the Rebbe says the story. Yeah,
I think it's Tavshin Lamed to Kislev Yitzran. That was an interesting tier. When you listen to it when you're 10 years old, you don't appreciate all the pratim.
By the way, I wanted. The Rebbe speaks about the guy has a picture of his Zayda in his office, right?
Yeah.
So I remember as a kid, I used to go with the offices around Times Square. There was 2 guys. I didn't understand what it meant then. They were like modern Orthodox, but I was a kid from Crown Heights. I didn't know that like you cannot wear a yarmulke and work, but you're frum. I didn't get the whole thing.
Yeah.
Only later in life I put two together. They were probably frum, just whatever. So he would one of the guys was like, yeah, Lubavitch, whatever, like he'd scream at us sometimes. He was like a CPA, so he was busy, tax season and this and that.
Yeah.
But then one day he brought us into his office, and I want to show you something. And he shows like the back in the back of a shelf, he has a picture of the Rebbe hanging out, a picture from the Rebbe that he like cut out from the Algemeine Journal, like it said the Lubavitcher Rebbe Shlita, whatever. Yeah, like it's like stuck. Sounds so it's like this is the Yid in Manhattan that always kicked us out of his office, but then one day when he brought us in, by the way, he has a picture of the Rebbe in his office. So you're saying about so go back,
I forgot where we are.
So
Anyways, so Chossid Ageza is people or whatever. They don't necessarily have a beard. They don't look like Chassidim, but they feel a shaychus to Chassidim because it's their heritage. And then Chossid Nusach, they daven Nusach Ari. That's the extent of their membership in Chassidus Chabad. And then you have Chassidus Chabad that they actually learn Chassidus. They follow the Rebbe's Heros. So I was thinking, after coming Einteichen today, you have people who they're shaychus to Chabad is because they were born to a Chabad family. They didn't necessarily ever investigate what that means or why they are, but maybe sometimes they like the Rebbe says, Shalebrit Seinenu, Kama Nyon Shalebrit Seinenu. So they feel that way. I was actually thinking, we can try and stay on topic here, but there's a pasuk in Parshas Dvarim. It says, "Misinas Hashem Eisanu." Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Yidden, "You guys complained. He said God hates us so much. That's why He took us out of Mitzrayim, took us into the Midbar." I mean, who says that? The Eibishter made you 10 bakas, takes you out of Mitzrayim, takes you from being basically a slave who has no purpose, no future, no vision, nothing. It makes Kiddush Hashem Chol Elam Kulei 10 makas, takes you out of Mitzrayim, gives you man, gives you a Torah. I mean, like the whole list of Dayenu. And then what? Because one time I don't know, it was too hot, or your supper was cold. That's it. Hashem Misinas Hashem Isanu. So the Rashi says, there's a Gemara that says that basically, you project onto the Eibishter, you hate the Eibishter, so you say he hates you, basically. So I was thinking, could be there's some people that they know that the Rebbe loves them more than they love themselves. They don't like themselves, for whatever reason. People to take it to different extremes, but just people they cannot. It bothers them that the Rebbe loves them more than they love themselves. So they struggle with it, and and Givissei Fanim. Anyways, so there's Chossid. So today you have Chossid Ageza. They're born to a family of Chassidim. The fact that either it's whatever it is, Chossid Nusach, they daven. They're very happy to daven Nusach Ari. Maybe follow Minhagei Chabad, maybe even Chazir Divrei Torah by the Shabbos table from the Rebbe, and then there's Chossid Chabad, people who are actually in tune with what the Rebbe cares about, what the Rebbe wants, what the Rebbe's agenda is. They were at least want to be able to help the Rebbe. If they want to fulfill what the Rebbe wants from them. Ulay Yeshleima, this is a modern day interpretation of the three. I was actually looking. I was actually looking to see if I could find it anywhere else. This thing about Chassidim, this three types of Chassidim. I did not find any other source for it other than Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson's.
There's a third one, no?
What?
There's three Chossid Nusach.
Chossid Ageza, Chossid Nusach, and Chossid Chabad.
So Chossid Chabad is people that are doing the right thing.
People who listen to Farbrengens.
Let's qualify here.
Yeah.
Listening to Farbrengens does not mean why listening to listening. What about reading Farbrengens? Also,
listening, watching, reading. Why? Because in a Farbrengen you see how the Rebbe looks at a person, how the Rebbe looks at a Yid, how the Rebbe looks at life in every situation, every type of day. How the Rebbe deals with real life. One of the one of the real.
So you're saying if you learn the Sichos, right? Everyone in Lubavitch yeshivas, they learn the Sichos by say the Sichos and whatever, right? It's almost part of the curriculum. So you're saying that when you learn the Sichos, you're learning the Rebbe's Torah, and what's
When
different?
someone learns Chumash, it says in the Zeit, right? When someone learns Chumash, they're going to want to learn the Zeit, but the struggle is, how am I going to guide my day? What am I going to do different today because of whatever today's Chumash is? How am I going to change another Yid based on what today's Chumash is? How am I going to change myself? So, but it's more than that. It's more than that. Am I really convinced that today's Chumash could change the world? The world that is today? Am I really convinced?
Myself personally, on a regular Shabbos, I mean, I'm doing this since I'm a bacher, but I do it today as well. When I was a bacher, I learned the whole the Hanach, the whole long Farbrengens. Today, I usually take a Sefer Sichos, just because time constraint and they're a little shorter. And
yeah,
but to me, it's not if you don't know what the Rebbe says about today, how is it Shabbos? Like, you don't what parish is it? What does that parish mean? What does the kviyas mean? What is like today's chumash? You don't know. Like, how do you walk the shul and or have guests at your Shabbos table and you're not living? Like, it's like, so I can learn. It's different than learning the Sichos. Because it's a beer on a certain Indian. But the Rebbe Farbrengen is the whole, at least the first two Sichos, at least of every single Shabbos take Farbrengen. The Rebbe is just laying out like the Seder Ayim, basically, like what does it mean to live today? Like some people, like, I think even if they're learning Farbrengen, whatever, they're glancing over that. That's the whole point.
You know the mina to the guy who complained he didn't get an answer to his letter, and the Rebbe said that I wrote in the Michtav in the Kloli Prati I sent you. I told you what I care about, and I wrote there's man McCamus over there. I figured Yid like you, a Chossid, not a friend, not friends of Chabad. This would be the most important thing to you to know about. This what you know. I'm talking about the minor. I don't have it. I don't remember
No, I don't.
fingertips. Anyways, Baruch Hashem today, because all the minors are bitfus, all the real minors are bitfus, all the ones that people made up.
I know what you're talking about.
Turned out to be made up.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
All the guys would say things.
Oh, you're saying they made up from memory? They set up savart
from memory, or they had classified information that you would have to take their word for it to trust them.
We live in the information age, so everything's beksuvim. Like it's a wild thing that you heard. Yeah, like you're saying, you heard a vart that the Rebbe said, and then like boom, we have all the minus about it. And like we could read for ourselves.
I was just this morning, yesterday, I was sitting with a Yid, and he was telling me, imagine if all the resources, the intellectual resources, the financial resources that go into wars, imagine if they would all go into helping people. We could give everyone houses and food, and the world could be, So I was thinking, this could be a balbatsha way of teaching the Rambam. Why is there going to be Madanim Mitzuyim Koffer? Because there's not going to be Le'rov, Le'mulchama, Le'kinav, Le'tachus. Guys are not going to be competing just for the sake of competition. They're not going to be jealous. They're not going to do things that they don't actually want, they don't actually care about. They're only doing it because they're jealous. There's not going to be war. They're not going to be wasting resources on war. V'le'rov. What's Pshat Rov? State if it's too much Torah here, you stop me. I was just excited about this vart. God provides enough food for every single animal, every single insect. Al Pnei Ha'adama gets what it needs. So how could there be places there's famine It's because there's corruption, there's misallocation of funds, whatever. It's a human error that causes that. When Mashiach comes, it won't have that. They'll be laid off, lay mulchama, lay kinav, lay tachas. So mele, they'll pasha begashis. There'll be madan mitzuyim kafir. There'll be so much resources available. It'll be the equivalent of madan mitzuyim kafir. Right? So that was I was thinking yesterday. This morning I was thinking, what's Madan Mitzuyim Kafir? Madan Mitzuyim Kafir is that any time, in any space, nowadays you could start listening to watching if I bring the Rebbe. You can start listening to if I bring the Rebbe. That's Madan Mitzuyim Kafir. Wunderbar steht nun geht. You can read, you can see a mind of the Rebbe. You can hear the Rebbe talk, you can see the Rebbe. That's Madan Mitzuyim Kafir. Now there's Shlovim in that, but nowadays it's Mitzuyin Kafir. The Chiddush Mashiach is going to be that's not anything anyone's going to be interested in doing.
You're saying today it's available, but Pasha people are not aware, or don't understand, or too lazy, or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's actually funny. I remember when I was a bacher, like an older bacher. My father asked me, "So did you develop a geschmack in learning?" Like after all these years in yeshiva, so do you like it? So I'm like, thinking about it. So I'll tell you, when I learn a Farbrengen or watch a Farbrengen, I pasha enjoy it. It doesn't mean that that I rather that over a piece of sushi might be more geschmack and more easier to do it in the moment. Doesn't mean that it's not even there's and you have to focus and you have to do it. But you're in it, yeah. I should enjoy it.
It's interesting. I mamish this morning. I was listening to the Maimer Kain Sicha of Yud Gimel Nissen Tavshin Mem Zayin Vehibein Mashmini, and at the end, the Rebbe's it's a whole description about how Tzmach Tzedek's Torah is printed, and it's and the scene of Das, and it's Chibur and Nigla, and it's basically it's the Torah Shel Mashiach, and then at the end the Rebbe mentions wie der Rambam schreibt to say Hilchos Tshuva, as we soll lernen Shalelish Ma, and we take Shalelish it's going to be this gal that the Shalelish in the Teich from the Leilish Ma is Lishma. That was the word that Rebbe always brings. The Teich Shalelish Ma is Lishma. But it's interesting over here, Stamp Makasha, what you were just saying. That was talking about learning Chassidus. That was talking about learning Torah Shel Mashiach. What's Eiches da Shalelish Ma? So L'chura, you could enjoy Farbrengens. It's fine.
If I could, I think if that's your taivas, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah.
But listen, hello. If you talk to people that stood by Farbrengens, if they're real people, I'm not talking about idiots. If they're real people, that's how they describe it. Even if they didn't understand, it was a place to be. It was the Rebbe Ufgeheben. So. I think that's part of that is one of the functions of a Rebbe. That's the Rebbe's doing. Yeah, and it's not even it's not even a. This is obvious. Everyone knows this, but the fact that Dafken der Hashvi, Rabbi know that Gashmis is Nishtalshem Faruchnis, right? The fact that the Gashmis, we have recordings in Der Hashvi is for a reason. It's because Beruchnis, we need it the most now. Saying in after Gomot Hamas, saying this is. I mean, besides the original, the effect, and the televised Farbrengens, and the effect that it has on the whole world, and using our technology. Besides that, the Abisha set up the matziv that there's going to be a mitzias of after Gomot Hamas, of 30 days after Gomot Hamas, and the Maktim Raful Lamaka. He gave us. I mean, just that they're still printing memorim of the previous rabbeim. The Rebbe, there's Hanachas. Teres Menachem, it's coming out, it's perfecting it, fine. But we have Hanachas, we have everything ready to go. Actually, someone told me once, right after Gomot Hamas, a friend of mine told me that a bunch of Pelishers was in business within his father's house right after Gomot Hamas.
Yeah.
They asked him, "Nu, was zayin? What are you going to do now?" Okay, what am I going to do now? He looks at his Svarim shelf. He says, "That's what I'm going to do now." He pointed to the Rebbe Svarim.
So first of all, just to the Dayak, God knew. The Eibishter, not supposed to say God. It's
The Rebbe always says, "God Almighty."
Between us and Ben Shapiro, there's probably be a few million listeners.
Yeah,
so the Eibishter,
you're referencing the Gershon Ber Jacobson.
Yeah.
You ask him how many subscriptions are there to the Algemein. It's zwischen uns and the New York Times. There's
a few million.
Yeah. In Mexico City alone, there's he used to say, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So, the creator of the world knew which Rebbe or which leader he wants the world to have on record. In other words, when the Eibishter was ready to send us to Rebbe, he also made sure that the recordings would be available. In andere Werte, the Eibishter planned out a world, and he said Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be in Teresh B'Ksav. The Rambam is going to have a written book, but the Rebbe, I want he should be recorded and videoed, and so he arranged it that way.
Yeah.
That at the same time there's videos and recordings, that's when the Rebbe is teaching the Yidden.
And it's also, I'm saying it's also, I guess if you're a Chassid Amal, if you went to Lubavitch and you were a maskil or whatever, you're a real Chassid, you're able to know what the Rebbe said in the Maimar. The average guy, so this Shabbos in Stanford, we have the Armon Hotel nearby. So there's like all these Frum Shabbatons. Every Shabbos, I usually am busy, in the community, but I usually go there for mikveh, but I have Shabbos. But this Shabbos, they had a group for those that are learning Chassidus, like Peilishe, that are learning Chassidus, like the Lubavitchers, whatever they call themselves. I'm sure each one has their own story. So I spent a little more time there. I went to Shabbos, but anyways, I was talking to a bunch of guys, to two guys. So one of them told me a word. He says, "You don't understand the difference. If you ask up another chassid or whatever, Talmud, Rosh Hashiva, tell me a word from Rosh Hashiva on the parasha."
Yeah, what's this?
Sure. Tell me a word in the parasha. If you're sure, it doesn't know. Maybe if you tell me a yomtiv, maybe it could come up with something. Your average Lubavitcher, ask him what does Rebbe say in Parshas Amor.
Yeah.
He'll come up with 3 ideas. Like this is he says you understand, from the world that we come from, this doesn't exist. It's like there was a certain Shiva that passed away recently, and one of our friends said of art, he said look at the difference. This big Rashiv passed away. Can anyone tell me what he has to contribute? What did he contribute? In Torah, I'm sure he has fun, but what's the Ufketan Welt? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's like by the Rebbe, it's like it doesn't stop. The Rebbe contributed in this, the Rebbe contributed in that, and every aspect of your life, and every aspect of the world, and every current event, and every in Torah, and it's a never-ending loop. Anyways, I'm not sure if it's connected to the concept of videos, but
I don't know if it's connected, and I don't know if it's to understand. I don't know if it helps people get a better understanding of what a Rebbe is. I guess Hagam Hayim Yom, right? He says as the Rosh Hashiva is given Elend and Talmud given Elend.
You're saying comparing doesn't
I'm just
help
wondering what the tailness of that contrast is. It's like a guy, a Rav, a Lubavitcher Rav, told me. I don't usually quote Rabbanim, but for this Indian, he says that this Rav kocht sich in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. So he says that I can't mention this other guy's name either. Anyways, the Rosh Hashiva in Lakewood from back in the day. I don't want to mention his name. So he said that, look, unsere Balabatim produced what the Chassidim's Rebbe produced. The Alter Rebbe made a Shulchan Aruch, put together halachas b'taimeim to help people learn halacha, And in Vilna, we had a balabas, Avram dancing. He made the Chayyim. So, our balabas is equivalent to that Rebbe. So this guy tells me, this Rav tells me, he's like, Arke obviously never looked in Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch in his life. If he's making a statement like this, the guy obviously never looked at Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, if a guy is gonna if he's gonna try to understand the God, what a Rebbe is, or godless of the Rebbe, based on its Rosh Yeshiva, it's not. It's kaimer al chochma roma va'amuka sheyev shelamash b'yadayim. You could be sheil many Rosh Yeshivas. You're not going to get any closer to
But
understanding a Rebbe.
I guess for those that have a relationship with other Rebbes or Rosh Hashivas or come from that background, it's helpful for them.
Other Rebbes. It's interesting, Taka. The Rebbe encouraged all these young guys to take over their kreisen. I guess it's basically just being mechazik Yiras Shemayim and Arbot Satira. People should, these kehillas should stick together. They should have some form of leadership.
You saw the video that the Rebbe tells a guy to print his father's Sfarim, and he says it's against the tzava and the ratzon of my father. The Rebbe doesn't accept that. They have to do it anyways. Listen, but the Rebbe also, no, the Rebbe told I think the Rebbe told the Aaron when he came in Yechidus was a learning Chassidus. Dav Chassidus Chabad. Like the Rebbe wanted, like, you guys are Chassidim and you have Chassidus, so you should learn your Chassidus. The Rebbe wanted it to be part of the Seder Yeshiva. I think that's what the Rebbe was money by him. If I remember correctly, that's the Rebbe definitely said that. I think it was a Tel Aaron. Like, if you have a Shashelis, if you have a Messiah, like you have Torah, if you have depth, so I think in the frum world today, people are lacking depth. They're looking. I mean, in the Lubavitch world, that they're lacking depth is because they're not looking in. As every Baal Tshuva says, I finally looked in my back pocket, right, and found what I've been looking for my whole life. So, if Lubavitch is not, if a Lubavitch is lacking depth or meaning or whatever, they're not looking in their back pocket. But I think B'chlal, there's like an Indian in the frum belt of like Mezucht, and there's like a Bikush, right, Mevakshim. Like people are like lost a little bit in the Frumkeit, and people thought there was a whole thing in the Frum magazines about suicides that are happening in the Frum world. Like they had so
someone was mayor to me a few days ago that in the Welt there's this whole thing about the place of men in society. They're trying to find ways to impart to men that they have a purpose and they have a place in society. L'chura was nostalgia from the fact that
this is an answer. This is like the repercussions of the feminist movement. It's like,
so I guess because today, if a woman could have she could have her own job.
Right.
I'm going to get to the Torah aspect of this, but let's just go through this for a second. She could have her own job. She could pay her own bills. She could concealed carry, so she could protect herself. Presumably, again, those people don't usually, but those style people don't usually. And she could even have kids. She can go to a donation bank, and she could have kids. She doesn't need to have a guy around the house making a mess. So Mela, this attitude is sort of trickled in, and men are questioning: is this their purpose? I don't know if that's the real. I don't know if that's why. Anyways, he was saying that maybe have to tell men what their purpose is. So it's interesting.
There's a Jewish person or non-Jewish person, like whatever.
Lubavitcher.
Oh, okay.
One of the interesting things, I'm gonna get to the family planning article is that in the hair, it was when we were working on it. It was you listen to the sichos, you read the sichos, and right away you assume that I was talking to a very modern family, or someone who's barely frum. They only want to have they have a very small, spacious family. And then you read Yedidenu, your neighbor in 788, shared the letters from Rabbi Bernhard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
It's printed in the article, those letters.
Should I say it?
Say everything.
Okay. So, in the Kiddush Sheikh Chabad, Yitzayin Sivin Tavshim Mem, the Rebbe spoke in the Sikha about not stopping, not family planning, basically, not against birth control and the side effects of it. It's not good for the mothers. It's not good for the families, and should leave it up to Hashem and how many children should be in a family. And the Rebbe spoke about this again. Parshas Nasi Tavshim Mem. That's the sikha everyone likes to quote about Tavas Nish Ta'igen a Minyan beim Tish.
Minyan.
A minyan.
Everyone said a minyan of the merfen a minyan, but yeah.
I'll get that in a second. A minyan beim Tish, and then there's another. I think Shabbos Parshas Shlach. The Rebbe also talked about it, and then again, and then in the winter of Tavshim Mem Aleph, Rabbi Bernhard was visiting from South Africa, and the Rebbe asked him to go to talk to Taras HaMishpacha committee. Taras HaMishpacha committee, I think, was the Neshei Chabad, the most Chassidish women in Crown Heights, who were in charge of all. They were basically the Ruach HaChaya behind all the Miftzoim by women, particularly the Miftzoim that are shaykh to women. Neshek, Taras HaMishpacha, Miftzah Kashrus. So the Rebbe wanted him to speak to them about whatever, but also to talk to them about the Rebbe's recent campaign to have a lot of kids, and to report back to him what they say. And he wrote, and the Rebbe he was not proper typewriter. He wrote back a whole protocol of the women, of what the women said. And they had culminate kindness that it's exhausting and whatever. Kimavur Baruch in the article.
And I think they're writing about spacing. They didn't have their issue wasn't with having large families.
The mind to them is printed in Chelav Chaflik with the Sichos.
Yeah, it was about spacing.
Spacing.
Like, what's wrong with spacing? Yeah.
Yeah. What was interesting to me, I forgot where I was going with this already. What was interesting to me over there? Oh, so I thought that I was talking to modern Freie people. And then you see, now that I was talking to Lubavitchers, that I was talking to the most chassidish Lubavitchers possible. But also, a lot of times, you see by Farbrengens how the Rebbe talks about, like, in Tavshin Yud Beis, the Rebbe talks about how you must know Chassidus, it's not enough just to learn Nigla. And then in Tavshin Yud Gimel, and then in Tavshin Mem Aleph, and in Tavshin Mem Ches, again and again and again and again. How many times the Rebbe needs to talk about how you must learn Chassidus, it's not enough just to learn Nigla. Muslims sagen that Chassidim also need to be reinforced. These Inyanim need to be reinforced. It's not just
I will say confession that when we wrote the article about family planning, I pushed that it should happen because people weren't sure if we should do it. And I'm telling you for a fact that one of the reasons why I wanted it to happen was I wanted clarity myself on the topic. I watched the sikhs. I knew I wanted a clarity on the whole sugya, and that's what I wanted for myself. I wanted to know. I wanted to have clarity on what the Rebbe has to say about this. Like, is the Rebbe talking in theory? Does it mean practically? I got my answer in that article. If anyone wants it, we can.
So to tie up the part of the weave.
Yeah.
One of the milas of Farbrengen, of listening to Farbrengen over learning whatever. I don't. One of the milas of Farbrengen is that you realize how serious the Rebbe is, and how serious you should be about this. How relevant the Rebbe is, how relevant Torah is in every prat of life.
I heard from Mrs. Chazan in Italy.
Yeah,
I think that time when the Rebbe spoke about the minyan,
Gershom
Mendel's daughter. So she said she was there by the Farbrengen, and she said, I never heard this from anyone else. She said that when the Rebbe said it, the Rebbe at a certain point the Rebbe looked up at the Weibershul. The Rebbe looked at the women.
Which sikha?
I think that one about the minyan.
Oh yeah.
And she said, I was there. I heard what the Rebbe said. The Rebbe looked up to us. The Rebbe was talking to us. That's it. Baruch Hashem, I think they have 10 children. I'm saying, like, the Rebbe get so when you so you're saying learning of Farbrengen is, it's not the same thing, because we need Mashiach to be here, and we should actually stand by the Rebbe's Farbrengen. But right now, when you learning of Farbrengen or watching or listening, that is how a chassid interacts with the Rebbe, and it has that experience that she had. That's how you do it. That's the form. That's what you need to do.
Yes, but
it's not a spiritual thing.
It's not a golistic thing to listen to the Farbrengen of the Rebbe. The Rebbe, even B'shas Meister, didn't the Rebbe tell Gan Yisrael to replay the Sikha to the kids?
Actually, your uncle Avadia once said that when he was a bacher, he used to read a Sichas Kodesh from the previous years. Someone asked him, why are you doing it? The Rebbe, that time, he says, very simple. The Rebbe is always saying in the Sichas now, Naf and Beis, Gebeduber Kama Pamim. Kama Pamim. The Rebbe says, we spoke about this already. So no, and the Rebbe says there's no need to chazar over. Okay, so I don't know. I wasn't there, so I have to read it, Pashat. Okay, I don't know if this is. I don't think you're saying the same thing though, or maybe you are.
First of all, I mean, every word the Rebbe says is important. I mean, there's no when Mashiach when Mashiach comes, you're not gonna look back into the Sichos. I mean, what's pshat?
Yeah,
it says Teira shebiz b'leil mazeh hevel legabe terasa shel Mashiach. But what about terasa shel Mashiach? That's never going to be hevel. But and then when I get to Shleimus Haaretz, for sure that everyone wants them to replay the Sichos all the time. I
mean, hello, the Shleimus Haaretz Sichos. I mean, this is what would we be if we didn't have the Shleimus Haaretz Sichos? Which, by the way, is not printed in you're not going to know from just from say the Sichos what the Rebbe say about Shleimus Haaretz. You pushing need.
So I was thinking, could it be the reason why a lot of people are detached from how not serious is not, it doesn't do this justice, but how what a major issue this is to the Rebbe. And they're also detached from a lot of the information is because it's mostly in the Farbrengens. You have to.
Listen, can you please let I know we don't like talking about Shlila.
Yeah. But
let's figure out, how do you see that the Elam is detached from what the Rebbe says about Shleimus Haaretz? Where do you see that? How do you see that?
Just a dogma. After Simchas Torah, I remember having a conversation with a relative, Lubavitcher, and he was telling me that he was feeling despair as many Yidden were feeling. He says, we're just going to have to give the Arabs their own place. Eventually, I mean, we have to go to war to teach them a lesson, but eventually there's no way we can continue doing this. We're going to have to give them their own state. They're going to have their own shetach. I mean, it's what are we going to do with all of them? What are we going to do?
So your cousin asked that question. Maybe we're going to have to give the Palestinians a state.
You'd asked me that we might have to give the Palestinians a state. But I don't like using that word. There's no such thing. The Rebbe never uses it. The Rebbe says Arvim, Araber.
You don't like Palestinian, okay?
Yeah. Sometimes I realize that the Elam is just they're getting fed all their information about Eretz Yisrael from mainstream media, right-wing media, but not from the Rebbe. So they have to get it from the Rebbe, that's all.
So did you have a special kach in Shleimus Haaretz before, or just you happened to learn a lot of Farbrengens, so you knew about it, so you just started learning more now, after October 7th?
Personally, I think I especially enjoyed those sichos. It's exciting. Begashmis. I mean, not the events that it talks about.
So you're saying that there's Lubavitchers, and it doesn't have to be whatever, someone out of it. It could be a Shliach, it could be a full-fledged Anash, And you're saying Pasha is not on
A
the same
full-fledged
wavelength.
chassid that Rebbe gave to the Rebbe Yonim is just uninformed.
So what's an example?
And it's a davar hamavel because there's something like this that the Rebbe screamed literally. Reingelegt Welten, Ewigkeitswelten. I mean, the Rebbe spoke about this more than Mitzvah film.
What's a dogma of this, of like a misconception that if you learned the Rebbe Sichos, you would understand? What's a dogma on that?
I was just listening to Lag Ba'imr Tavshim Mem. Lag Ba'imr Tavshim Mem, there was the Sikha in the parade, by the parade in the morning. And in the parade itself, the Rebbe addresses Das was es geschehen Nächten, B'yomim Elu. The Rebbe doesn't spell it out. The Rebbe speaks about in the parade briefly that a Yid has to be proud. That's the famous sikha about wearing a yarmulke in the UN.
What happened? Nechten.
Oh, so what happened Nechten? Nechten was the terrorist attack in Beis Hadassah and Hebron. To think about how far back we're going to reload to tell this Indian. Okay, let's start off with the actual terrorist attack. So basically, there was families living in Hebron. They were not living in houses. They had a building that they took over, and that's where the families were staying.
I'm sure you read the recent Deher article on Hebron, because that information you just said is in that article.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
I have to read the Deher more. Okay, good. So if I could, the Elam will be well acquainted with what we're talking about. So the men were going back from the Mars.
Now that we have their head, people are a little more informed. No?
100%. So now that they were going back for after Kabul Shabbos, they were going back from Mars Nachpela back to Beis Hadassah. They were walking through an alleyway, and they were attacked with granaten, like the Rebbe says, granaten, and with gunshots, and 6 people were murdered. And fine, they made a whole Vaitzaku. It took them a few days. Al Derech, like after October 7th, the Elam was sleeping for a while before they decided they're going to do anything.
I think 10 days, right?
I don't know.
This time.
It was many days too long. And the next day was the Lag B'Omer. So the Rebbe spoke by the parade. Bekitz and Nimrats about how Yidden need to say clearly that Eretz Yisrael is a Nachlas Olam, belongs to an Am Olam. And I can't remember the pratim in the parade, but it was quite bekitzer. And then that night, Lag B'Omer, usually when the Rebbe Farbrengens Lag B'Omer was on an off year, which there was no parade that year. The Marshal Lamed Hey, Lag B'Omer, right? Lamed Zayin was Lag B'Omer. Lamed Ches was Lag B'Omer. Usually the Farbrengens was the light. Here's Lag B'Omer. The first sikha of the Farbrengens, the Rebbe actually explains why the Lag B'Omer is Shaykh, like is also a special day. And by then in the third sikha of that Farbrengens, the Rebbe speaks ba'arichas about what happened, and says, and the Rebbe actually speaks about. You see, the Rebbe says his name. Stam in my words are failing me today. To inject personal into this. My first gives to the Yankas of the Shleimus Haaretz was sitting in the car. My father was playing this Farbrengens, and the Rebbe was saying the words Hakodesh Shleime Hashem Yikim Dome. Anyways, so a lot of the Farbrengens, the Rebbe was actually not even talking about the terrorist attack that happened the day before. The Rebbe is talking about a terrorist attack that happened Yud Gimel Shvat in Hebron.
A different one.
A different terrorist attack. There's a gentleman. His name was his last name was Shlomo. Shlomo. His first name, I forgot already. I looked it up yesterday. He was a bacher in his 20s from Denmark, I think. He saw a very passionate lover of Eretz Yisrael. He was in Yeshivat Hesder or something. He was going supposedly to buy fruit for Tu B'Shvat. Whatever, he was in the marketplace, and a guy, Araber is gekommen, von hinter, an Arab came from behind him and shot him dead. And nothing. No investigation. The Israeli government, the authorities, the intelligence agencies, no one bothered even trying to find out who did it. There was literally there was nothing.
No reaction.
No reaction. Like as if it's the south side of Chicago. It's south side of Chicago, basically. Right? Hiya. In the Farbrengens of Like Beimer, the Rebbe say Sturming that first of all, the fact that you have that an Arab is willing to go middle of the day. This wasn't even at night. It's the middle of the day. I was trying to figure out yesterday, actually, what is unique about those two terrorist attacks, Legabe, the one before it. I mean, there was also a couple terrorist attacks that year.
Unique that the Rebbe is spending so much time talking about.
Yeah, and he's talking about what a bahola it is and what type of the Rebbe is saying mach von sich schmattes about the Israelis. They're making themselves schmattes the way they handle these things. And I think it is that there's one thing if you plant a bomb on a bus, or you do a hit and run, covert terrorist attack. The fact that you're willing to walk into a marketplace, walk up to a Yid, shoot him dead, and then, whatever, disappear back into the crowd, that is a new level of a new audacity. He says the guy has no fear. He's not worried they're going to come find him. He's not worried anyone's going to give him out. He just, in general, there's no deterrence at all. It's a complete breakdown. So he shot him dead. For months and months, they didn't try to figure out what happened. And the Rebbe says that's why. You basically, every Arab in Chevron knows exactly what happened. The Rebbe talks about in this Farbrengen how the Israeli press censored the story. They didn't want to let them talk about it. Maybe one day in a small newspaper, they covered it up from the Jews,
the general public,
from the Jewish public. But from the Arab public, they don't need the Israeli press to find out. Yeah, the Rebbe even spells it out in the Farbrengen. He tells his friend. Every Arab in Chevron was well aware that a Jew was murdered in broad daylight, and the Jewish authorities did not lift a finger to try to pursue the attacker. So it sends the message that it's open season on Seinei Yisrael, basically. And so then you have this situation where they negate them, shooting Jews in the middle of the. It was a nighttime. That attack was at night, actually. When they needed to find Yossel Shuchmacher, the Rebbe says they suspended all investigations of the Mossad, even ones that were negated.
The whole Mossad was a Yossel Shuchmacher search party.
Exactly. They neglected security, probably because they aborted ongoing investigations that were negated to security, things like that. So go find Yossel Shuchmacher. And here, they want people to believe that they can't find who the perpetrators of this terrorist attack were. By the way, you say Schanikim and Vav.
By the way, do you hear a lot of feedback, background noise?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
You say Schanikim and Vav. The Rebbe also the Rebbe also talks about how there's this shitta that the intelligence or the authorities in Israel came up with. That we're not going to stop the terrorist attacks. We're going to let them continue happening. And eventually the peaceful Arabs are going to be so fed up with all the terrorism that the violent Arabs are bringing, and they themselves are going to throw them out. This was, I mean, it's how could he even say that with a straight face, but that was the Schanikim involved. But that was the shit that probably then also, the Rebbe says this in the Sikha. If they don't want to find them, or they don't want anyone to know that they could find them, or they don't want anyone to know that they know who they are, because then they're going to have to do something about it. And they do something about it, they might upset this guy and that guy, and eventually it might affect the Arabs who are involved in the Camp David Accords, and then the U.S. president is going to be upset about it. So it's just simpler to not pursue the attackers altogether, and hopefully everyone will forget about it. And for decades, the greatest achievement of Israeli military intelligence government, the greatest achievement is manipulating the public, the Jewish public, hiding stuff from them, convincing them things that are not true. That has been the greatest success. Providing them security, not so successful, as we see every day. But manipulating them, convincing them that this war can't be won, we're doing the best we could over here, this is eventually going to lead to something good, these type of lines, that is what they are terrific at. And from Jews in Israel, unfortunately, are willing to go along with it as long as they get a few dollars, which they say are going to yeshivas, but really are going to pay for salaries in the offices of the Askonim or Chavri Knesset. I can't remember where we were starting with this.
So yeah, I asked you about what's a misconception that people have. What?
So a misconception, Lamashal, kids are always raised on cool stories about the Mossad, Lamashal. The reality is that there are terrorist attacks every day in Yehuda and Shomron. There's shootings, there's stonings. Unless someone dies, unless a few people die, I don't know what's really done about it. Does the Mossad try to go find them? Do they disarm an entire village to make sure such a thing doesn't happen again? I highly doubt it. And it's because of their shitta that they don't believe that those Arabs there have a right to be there, almost more than the Jews.
Saying the Israeli government believes this.
The Israeli government believes it, and the people who run the Mossad believe it. So that's how you see in this country also. Suddenly the border crossings, I mean the deportations is a shtickle scam, but the new entries into the country are down significantly. What changed? What actually changed? The laws didn't change. The personnel didn't change. The word from the top changed that we're going to start enforcing stuff. So the whole Mossad could change with two people on top deciding we're going to start enforcing.
So the reason why the government doesn't want to enforce this is because they're lacking the Ganyanke or the I'm not sure what word I'm looking for, but
they're lacking the conviction.
The conviction, yeah,
that this is actually their land.
That we belong here. This is our land, and you know, even in their narrative, you know, we won a war and it's our country now. So saying the whole structure.
When it's your neighbor's house, how much effort do you put into making sure your neighbor's house is safe? At some point, you feel like, I mean, I'm in this other person's place. I mean, I'll do it, but I'm not going to overdo it. Your own house, you make sure it's safe. You do whatever it takes. You're not worried about what anyone's thinking.
So the fact that the world, the non-Jewish world, or the many Jews are stuttering and going crazy now about Israel, and the whole narrative is basically that we're the aggressors. You're saying, according to the way the Rebbe's and we, including Lubavitchers, including Frumid, are like, yeah, but, you know, and we're apologetic about it and always answering. And the way that Rebbe is saying it is that this whole thing was built up by us because we, for decades, have had this attitude that we had that attitude first. So what do you want from everyone else?
I was speaking to Yid yesterday, and he says that he gets into fights with some of his Jewish friends because he says that they're all terrorists. Yeah? And they say all the people in Gaza. It's not just
all the citizens. Yeah,
that the whole Gaza's terrorists. And his friends, Jewish friends, don't like it. They think he's too radical, whatever.
Right.
I said, you know who came up with this whole theory that they're not that There's peaceful citizens, and there's terrorists, and we have to take out the terrorists, and then everything will just automatically become peaceful. It's the Jews who came up with that, because the Jews, they don't believe it's their land, so they don't want to take responsibility to secure that. They're afraid if they decide that we are going to become responsible to make sure this patch of land is secure. How can we do that? It's not our land. How can we take it over like that? And so, what are we going to do? We can't let them continue terrorizing us. So we have to go to war and destroy a bunch of places and kill a bunch of terrorists. But then the world's going to say, what are you doing? You're killing people. So we have to come up with this narrative that, no, we're not retaking the land. We're not killing people. We're just killing the terrorists. It's a narrative that they created to basically allow them to continue living the lie that it's not Eretz Yisrael, and at the same time go to war over there. Why are you going? What are you going to war over and over and over again in a place that's in a land that's not yours? Stop going around killing people. What are you doing? You have to keep your country secure, but who continuously bombing and invading and special operations in another person's country, like Leilam Void? I mean, Viv Lashir. So they came up with this narrative that, what are we going to do? I mean, as long as we have a terrorist to blame it on, we're comfortable continuing to do limited activities to protect Eretz Yisrael. But the world doesn't buy that. That's Hasbara people buy it. That's people who don't even know themselves what they want by that. What you're supposed to say is, this is our land, it's Eretz Yisrael. We belong here. In the Farbrengens of Lag Beimer Tav Shemem, the Rebbe is talking about the Rebbe is talking about the frum Jews who say that al pi halacha, in order not to enrage the goyim, you're supposed to you have to give away land, give up. But they hope, the Rebbe says, these same people who give out these piskei dinim are hoping that nobody will take them up on their psak and say, wait, if we have to give up Gaza for not to enrage goyim, and if we have to give up Hebron, then we also have to give up the Rebbe list. Tel Aviv, und Bnei Brak, und Kfar Chabad, und Chadera, und Natzrat. The Rebbe lists like a bunch of cities in Israel. They give those up also to keep the peace. There's no difference. If Jews believe that if they would really believe that Tel Aviv is theirs, not just that we've been living there for so long, but it's really ours, then they would be very comfortable doing whatever they need to secure Tel Aviv. As the problem is not just.
I mean, you see this today, Pasha, happening in real time, because it's no longer there's scuds, there's missiles rockets coming from Gaza. I mean, every part of Eretz Yisrael today, every other day, has sirens going off.
Yeah.
So it's like it's Pasha like the Hamchasha. Then you could have said, yeah, it's the Lebanon, it's this, it's that, it's Yehuda Shemron. We see today that this attitude that Eretz Yisrael, that the government has had, has led to literally every single part of Eretz Yisrael being included, part of this picture. And yet, doesn't seem that their attitude has changed. I mean, look, I just saw yesterday, they announced that they're going to go back and they're taking over the whole Gaza. And then they announced today, we're waiting to see what Trump talks about in Qatar, wherever he's going. They're not even part of the negotiation. We're waiting to see what he comes up with there before we go further.
In other words, their greatest achievement is just manipulating their constituents, that they have some type of plan, and they're just waiting on this person, waiting on that person.
Did I ever spoke about this? Did I ever spoke about this?
In the exact words I'm saying, not. But in this Reagan, for example, the Rebbe talks about that they try, that their whole goal, their only agenda after a terrorist attack is how to hide it from the public. because they don't want the repercussions of it for themselves. They're scared it's going to affect how their foreign policy dealings. And the Rebbe says you can't hide. Everyone in the world knows about it. The press in Chossid-Rebbe covered it. The Arabs all know about it. It's just in Israel they censor it.
So let me take it the opposite direction. Because I know from what I know about Shleimus Haaretz, but I know B'chlal, it's very important for everyone to remember in ourselves that we can't, when the Rebbe is emes, and you can't box it into one thing because it's usually wrong, right? So so is it left? Is it right? It's usually somewhere in the middle. So let me take it. Let me tell you what it's called the right is saying. Let me ask you what the Rebbe says about this. So what do you do? Okay, Gaza, what do you do? Yeah. So there's a lot of people screaming. What do you mean? Dresden, Berlin, 1945. Is that what the Rebbe is saying? Bomb the whole thing? What's the after all our mistakes? Now, what's the military solution or the political solution to what's happening today?
It's very simple. The second that the Arabs see that the Jews are serious about retaking full control permanently of these places, the second that happens, and the second they see that their international pressure and internal pressure is not changing the resolve of the Jews, the second that happens, everything is resolved. You don't even have to kill one Arab for that.
So you're saying it's a vacuum. Everything that's happening, their attacks and our answers to their attacks is because there's this vacuum.
About bombing, talking about Dresden is pashut right-wing hyperbole. It comes from a complete lack of understanding of basically, in other words, if you would know how ill-prepared and how much there's no strategy, if you know all the things that they're not doing, which are worlds apart of bombing, like doing a Dresden bombing, then you would say, like, in other words, the mina, the guy, I don't know if it's a real mina nowadays. You probably could check. The guy said that he had a break-in in his house, and that is
a real mina.
Betach.
He wrote to the Rebbe. He should check his I think it was his. Yeah, he wrote to the Rebbe. Should I check my mezuzahs because they broke into my house? The Rebbe said they should close the windows. The Rebbe said, "Ulai yiskeru hachalenis."
Yeah, really. That's actually real mina.
It's not. We have the actual ksaviyad. It's printed. Ulai yiskeru hachalenis.
So same thing with Israel. Before you start using your nuclear bombs,
you're Dresden,
bombing Dresden. Yiskuru hachalonis. First of all, that same day that Iran fired 400 supersonic or whatever they call it rockets at Israel, and they took them out. Whoever took them out, all the 7 countries that were involved in that charade. Yeah. That same day, there were 7 Jews murdered in Yaffo. 7 Jews. How? Not with bombs and rockets from Iran. 1 Arab with a machine gun mowed down 7 Jews. That had nothing to do with Iran. It had nothing to do with Gaza, for that matter. It was simply the Jewish management. They should never be called a government for the way they've been handling their country for so many decades. They're a bad management company. The mismanagement that they don't even secure proper security. It's funner to shoot down rockets in the sky. It takes much more commitment and persistence to make sure that that the terrorist with a machine gun can't walk into the streets of Yaffo and shoot dead 7 people.
So this is what the Rebbe was saying, that the etzem diburim, just talking about giving away land, is sakanas nefashis.
Oh, so that was the main misconception I wanted to get to. In this Farbrengens, like Beimer Tavshim Mem.
Because people. Okay, here's a misconception.
Yeah.
I'll give you a misconception. I think I'm going along with you. Misconception is, okay, don't give away land. That makes sense. And by the way, I think the Reiv percentage-wise of Israel today is an agreement that give away land doesn't make sense. But what do you mean? You need political position, if to position yourself politically, so you could talk about it. What was the Rebbe saying that just talking about it is hakadosh nefesh? Etzem adiburim. Why?
I'll be
So
moisif to the misconception. They say, but what do you mean? We never had another war with Egypt. So
right?
such a bad idea.
By the way, what's so wrong giving away land? Whatever, with a piece of giving away land, and agreement with Egypt still stands. Yeah.
So you don't need to have any reverse analysis. You don't need any hagashim. You don't need to look in the news. In this Farbrengens, the Rebbe already talks about that this shooting in Hebron is a result of the Camp David Accords. It emboldened. It diluted the deterrence. They're not afraid anymore. They see that Jews are not fully committed to their security. They're willing to give away oil fields, which, by the way, any other country in the world would literally sacrifice 90% of their population in a war not to give up a single oil field. That's a fact.
That's the resource.
That is like the most important resource. Putin will use his nukes before he gives up a single natural resource of Russia. Now he's a big power, but any country in the world will never, a natural resource like that, they'll never give it up. Israel gave it away partially because they got someone smiled at them in the UN over a few cocktails. And so when they saw that, an Arab in Hebron, not the Egyptian military, not the Syrian military, an Arab in Hebron saw that. They're well aware of what's going on, right? Despite how the Israeli press tried to spin the Camp David Accords that it's some type of peace process. Comer, their only success is manipulating the minds of their own people. But the Arabs know the truth. By the way, I just saw a clip of a terrorist who was he the one who did the attack in Hebron? I have to check up which terrorist attack he did. He had Jewish blood on his hands. He's being interviewed by an Arab media outlet. And I think they were taking him to task. He agreed to the Oslo Accords. Was too pro-Israel or something. I don't know. It was not all or nothing. I think they were having kindness. Haitochen even did it. And he says, what do you mean? The Oslo Accords let the resistance come to life. Until Oslo, we couldn't move a pistol from one town to another. We couldn't set up training camps.
It's interesting because I was about to say there's a shift in Israel's wars. That Amal, it was touched with the countries. The 6 Day War, the War of Independence, Yom Kippur War, it's all with countries. And now, since then, we're dealing with terrorist groups. But it follows along very well. The countries don't need a fight because the Arab population and the youngsters and all these terrorist groups are emboldened to fight Israel. So let them do the dirty work. Very good.
100%.
It's part of it. It's a direct,
Besides that, if you're the Jews, the Jewish government in Israel never realized that they're not running a sandwich joint in Lodz like their predecessors. You're running a country. You have to plan long term. Yes, right now there's no war with Egypt, and you're able to buy oil somewhere else. But what do you mean long term? When you don't give away oil fields, what's your long? Are you seriously planning to stay here? Is this your country? Or is this a fun experiment so you could have Hebrew movie theaters? Like, what's going on here exactly? But besides for that, here the Rebbe clearly spells out that the shooting in Hebron, in Shvat, and the terrorist attack that followed is a direct result of the Camp David Accords. And the Rebbe, and this part that everyone always knows from the Mitzvahs Chanukah and Vav, as biz the Camp David, that man gets hitted for Israel the Kenchayo. The Rebbe says this over here, the same thing. That they would never, maybe there or maybe Parshas Tisa Lametesa. I could be confusing.
Did I ever say it b'shaita? No, or not? Maybe not. Okay.
Parshas Tisa Lametesa ever talks about that they would never dare show aggression to the Israeli military, and here they're throwing stones at them and verveisvas.
So you're saying a misconception is what do you mean? Egypt worked out. Egypt is the backdrop between everything we're seeing today. The fact that there is an agreement, B'chal, is a direct backdrop to what's happening now.
The Rebbe also, during the Lebanon War, the Rebbe says that the extra, the emboldenment of the PLO in Lebanon was behemshich to what they saw happen in the Camp David Accords. And Kalmur, the Jews could deny this from today till tomorrow. You could have the Western press explain that that's not what happened. Talk to the Arabs. They'll tell you the truth. They'll be very happy to tell you the truth. But the Jews refuse to listen to the truth. They'd rather live in a fantasy land where they can imagine that they have a really amazing Mossad. And by the way, the Rebbe in the Farbrengens, the Rebbe says this, that Mossad is Yadua B'chol Olam Kulei to be the best intelligence agency. But what good does it do you if you're not trying to protect your citizens? You're just trying to play games and show you could kill people in Iran.
Beepers.
Beeper attacks. Hey, Lapoil, the attack, what they did with Hezbollah, now was no question, was kafia kavana. What they did, but the Shiloh is like, you let them come back, and now they're going to count on a new type of attack.
So the problem is not Gaza. The problem is, I think I heard this from you once. It says if you're looking to buy a house, you'll check Zillow, the crime rate in the neighborhood. You probably won't buy a house in a neighborhood that has, once in a while, we have rockets, every month or two, every week or two, whatever. Like, you're probably not going to buy a house there. So it's not about, I think what the Rebbe wanted is that the Israeli government should create an environment where the whole land is safe, and not that we win every war, or that we have the best intelligence, or that we rely on the Abish's miracles in the Gulf War and the Iran bombings, just happen now.
Yishavtem lovetach ba'artzachem, like the Rebbe repeats the pasuk from B'chukoisei, that every yid should be.
And the Rebbe another term that the Rebbe always uses, shalom amiti.
Shalom amiti.
Yeah, yes, there should be shalom amiti.
I was in a Meisad Chinuch over here. One of the girls asked, are we pro peace or against peace? I think 12-year-old girls.
You spoke in the school.
It's a class, yeah. They had the only pictures on the wall was of Trump. I said, not even a yid. I have at least another yid on the wall. So they said,
school?
So he said, what do you mean? Trump was by the oil.
No.
So I was thinking, actually, as it says in Mashiach, that when Mashiach comes, they view as Yisrael b'kli mincha. The goyim are going to bring the Yidden as gift. Mashiach is going to be a rich man. He won't need, like Elon Musk is going to want to give a gift to Mashiach. He won't need golden jets from Qatar. Mashiach is the guy is going to bring a gift to Mashiach. What's he going to bring? He's going to bring a Yid, another Yid, who's trying to hide his neighbor Jerry, who everyone thought he's Protestant. Every guy on the block knows he's Jewish, but he thinks that no one knows. So they're going to bring that Yid. They'll say, here, Mashiach, Nadir Yid. Trump, he brought Yidden to the Rebbe. The Yidden, he came with him. I don't know if they ever came before. I don't know when the next time they'll come is. But Kaponim, he brought them once. He brought them once. Anyway, so he said, are we pro-peace? They want to know, are we pro-peace? I said, yeah, peace is a nice thing. I mean, our priority is not peace, though. Our priority is security. I said, if your neighbor dumps their trash in your yard, and you start cursing at them, and they start cursing at you, and you fight with each other for 2 months, and then you say, you know what? Your neighbor says, what do you mean? Our relationship has just gone down the drain. Maybe we should make a peace process. What's the peace process? You clean up the garbage from my yard? No, he's not cleaning up the garbage. You going to stop dumping garbage in my yard? No, not stopping. But at least we're going to stop yelling at each other. Is that peace? No, it's insanity. Anyways, it's Marshall Hediot. I don't know if it's Meduyak.
It's a Shalom Amiti. That's the idea.
Yeah.
True peace.
Yeah. Al Kapanim, you say this because there's the Rebbe also talks about another Indian that people don't realize, which I started getting a better understanding of more. But if you listen, if you look at the Sikha to Katsav, Tavshin Beis, the Rebbe says, the first thing the Rebbe says, Achil Hashem. It's Achil Hashem that a Yid talks about his willingness to give away land. Chil Hashem, I mean, the language that Rebbe spoke from Midlam and Ches.
He wasn't the president. He was Chaver Knesset, right?
Yeah, Chaver Knesset, some minister of something.
Yeah.
So generally, the Rebbe speaks in a lashon of pekuach nefesh, but before Tevis Lamed Ches, the language that the Rebbe didn't talk about Shin Chav Tes really. The Rebbe talked about like in Lamed Daled, the Farbrengens post Yom Kippur War. The Rebbe did talk about that the peace they're making is causing casualties, but generally the Rebbe spoke Haytochen that a land that the Eibishter gave to the Yidden, and Haytochen that you're willing to give it away. You have to say Davzon Klor, that it belongs to the Yidden. But there's also this language. If you listen carefully, ungrateful. It's ungrateful that Hashem gave the Yidden a gift. The Rebbe talks about a lot of times how it was a gift. The 6-day war, the Eibishter gave the Yidden a gift. Why is it a gift? Because the Jews did not want to take over Yehuda and V'Shemrin. They were hoping the Judanians wouldn't start up with them. They didn't make proper plans for Yehuda V'Shemrin, Kemeduber in the Igris.
This is the 6-day war.
Yeah, the 6-day war.
Yeah.
They were hoping that there would be they would be able to show how cool the military is, and everyone will just go back home. They didn't really want to conquer a lot of land.
You're saying like what they do now in Lebanon, whatever, a little miftzah, a little thing.
Yeah, they like miftzahs. They like everyone. The whole world should say, "Wow!" And the IAF is just amazing. It's so cool. They have such cool tricks, planes. But to actually conquer land and manage it, that's too much work. They never realized that they're running a country. How they aim with people's lives. Particularly Yehuda V'Shemrin, they clearly did not want to conquer. They made no plans for it. And then Hashem forced them to. The Jordanians attacked. The Jordanians ran away. They basically forced, in the words of Yud Shvat Tavshin Lamed, B'yod Chazaka Emlich Aleichem, God forced the Jews to have Yerushalayim, to have Hebron, to have Shechem, to have traditional Israel. God forced it upon them. And am I touching the wire or something?
You're good.
It was a Pasha Matana for the Eibishter. The Eibishter wanted the Yidden to have it. And what do the Yidden do? The second they get it, they say, no, we don't actually intend to keep it. We're willing to give it back. We just want peace deal, whatever phony words they use then. By the way, in the Farbrengen here, the Rebbe says that the truth of the matter is that there's ever since they sent that delegation to say that they're willing to give back land, they're willing to give back all the land, that itself caused emboldened terrorism for the years to follow. But particularly, it picked up especially from the Camp David Accords. Anyways, where are we going with this?
You're talking about what the Rebbe said about that the Eibishter gave them Yehuda V'Shemrin.
And for Yidden to be willing to give it back, even to talk about giving it back, is pashut so ungrateful to the Eibishter. K'fu Yiteva. Spite the Eibishter in Panim, basically. Gives you a matana. I don't want it. I don't need it. The Rebbe in this Farbrengen also quotes words that from Yidden in Israel were saying then, we can manage without it. We didn't always have it. It's not that important.
The Golan. That's something else.
Golan, probably. I mean, Golan was...
That was later. Yeah, the Rebbe said 2000. He said we lived 2,000 years.
On the Golan, yeah. But in this Farbrengen, like Beimer, the Rebbe basically spells out that when you're pushing, the whole world saw that the Eibishter made a miracle for the Yidden and gave them this land. The way this is my understanding of the Sikha. I'm not saying this is the only understanding, but the beginning of the Sikha starts off how you raise a child with a Jewish education. You don't worry about how they're going to make a living because you understand at the end of the day, it's about the Eibishter is the one who provides. He just wants you to do something about it. If we believe that the Eibishter is real and he gives us a gift, And then we don't, you don't say, well, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Israel's not mine. Maybe there's no Abish there. Maybe he didn't really give Eretz Yisrael to Yidden. Maybe it's not serious. Maybe it's something we learn about in Chumash. That's a Chil Hashem. The whole world saw that God gave Israel to the Jewish people. They know it from the beginning. And he saw the Nisan Goyim in the 6-day war. And now that a Yid should come and say, Lavdavka, I don't know if I need it. It's probably the biggest Chil Hashem that could be. A Chil Hashem, besides for the B'koach Nefesh aspect, a Chil Hashem like that in itself is the biggest disaster. Now, granted, if there was a massive B'koach Nefesh that giving away would save a Yid's life, you would say that maybe Chil Hashem could be overlooked. But the Inyan Shalatzma of giving away a gift that the Eibush gave Yidden. So in that Farbrengens, the Rebbe separates the two inyanim. Number one, that it's being Kfuya Teva, and number two, there's Shin Chavtes, a problem, Pasha Isra Pekuach Nefesh, to even talk about Uptreten von Ashal. Anyways,
where does the language Af Sha'al come from that the Rebbe mentions?
Af Shal, I don't even know if it's from. The word Shal is a word that used in Torah, but the Af Shal I think might be like a Jabotinsky line actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So my question is, after listening to all you laying this out very well, let's go a little.
I just want to be Masakim, before you go in the room. Every chassid is responsible.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Okay, go, talk.
Every chassid is responsible to care and to know what the Rebbe's position on Shleimus Haaretz is. It's not even a question. So many hours the Rebbe spoke about it, and just from a plain Jewish perspective, it's Eretz Yisrael. There's a land where 5 million Yidden live. This represents Klal Yisrael b'chol Eilam Kuli. It's the most important, one of the two most important things to the Rebbe.
And one of the things the Rebbe said a lot about Shleimus Haaretz, it doesn't only affect the Yid in Eretz Yisrael, it affects the Yid. It's a sakana of the Yid all over the world. And we see that clearly. Look at everyone likes talking about anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
It's not even a question that our whole existence in America and in every other country is directly affected in a negative way by what's happening in Eretz Yisrael. It's like you see, I had an anti-Semitic incident this Shabbos in Stamford, Connecticut. That never ever happened to me in 9 years that I live here.
And Bechlal, it's also very important to raising Am Yisrael, because many hundreds of thousands of Jews in Eretz Yisrael, many more I'm sure in Chutz La'aretz, are going through an identity crisis. Are we Israelis? Do we belong in this country? Are we colonizers? Are we evil savages? Are we genocidal? Are my brothers in Israel, are my fellow Jews genocidal? Like, this is a crisis that engulfs huge swaths of Yidden. And a lot of times those who are not in crisis is not because they have a clear shita, it's because they're just buying hasbara, hook, line, and sinker, and they're surrounded by counter-protests with Israeli flags. They never question what they're doing. They don't actually have a real chinuch on the subject. So the Rebbe is a Hebrew against the Indian. Every chassid and the way you have to listen to the sichos. Yeah, there's no other way.
So I have a question. I have a question that's connected to this.
Yeah.
Number one, people want to know, okay, but what do we do now? Israel has messed this up over so many decades. So how do you backtrack all of this? And this is related to Chassidim. What are we supposed to do about this? Especially if you're in Eretz Yisrael and you can have influence and you're actually there in the country, but even us b'chol Eilam Kulei, not even, because the Rebbe says that Eretz Yisrael negate every Yid because Israel belongs to every Yid. But like, how do you backtrack all of this negative things that's been happening in one day? And B, what do we like? What do we do about it? It's depressing. Like, what can we do about this?
So when I get to the first thing, it seems like we're so far gone. I don't think that's true. It's part of the Hasbara nonsense, not Hasbara nonsense, part of the manipulation tactics of the people, the decision makers in Israel. They don't want their constituents to say, Hayitochen, you're not securing, Hayitochen, after all, after 2 years and 3,000 deaths, there's still rockets on Sderot and still rockets on Ashkelon. They don't want to have the tiniest.
And on the Ben Gurion airport.
Exactly, and on Ben Gurion airport also. So they want to be able to say the ship has sailed, as long as they're not invading your house and slaughtering your whole family, we're doing pretty good.
And if they do that once in a while, we'll fight back. Okay.
Yeah. As long as it's long enough that you already forgotten the last time. So I don't believe a word they say when they say that we can't do this, we can't do that. It's Baba Mises. It's Chazaka that it's Baba Mises. So I'm not even going to bother going into an investigation and figuring out what they could do. Chazaka that they could do. Torah wants them to take care of it. There's no question they could take care of it, and they have a chazaka of lying all the time about stuff they can't do, and so it's just not worth paying attention to. They have all excuses. The U.S. doesn't let us. The UN doesn't let us. The Supreme Court in Israel is stopping us. I don't know. It's
right. They're probably very upset.
It's Oslo Accords. It's this accord. They'll blame it on anything.
It was probably very upsetting for them when Trump said, "Do whatever you got to do," and they.
You know the story that Rebbe says in Purim Zayin about Hishei ben Ela, that Malchi Yisrael didn't let the people be Eila Regel for hundreds of years.
And then,
And then the last one of the Malchi Yisrael, he saw that he wasn't so intimidated by Malchi Yehud anymore. Or he figured he doesn't have much to lose anyways. So he said, "Okay, you can always be Eila Regel, have fun, whoever wants." And no one did. They weren't interested. So that was actually his blame went on Hishei ben Ela. He put the Yidden in such a position where they could be they could be held accountable. Al derech zeh, American president comes and says, "Do whatever you want." Chaptze mit the Heusen herab, like they say.
Sounds better in Yiddish, yeah.
But again, the second shiloh, what can we do? So first of all, again, like Beimer Tavshemem is a nice second sikha. The story, the Rebbe has a story about Rashbi. He said Teira and Hinim Atev Manoim, and it started raining. So the Rebbe asked the shiloh, you can't use Teira to make it rain. What does that mean? The Eibishter gave you a special set of tefillas to say. You say Meir Dageshem, you say V'sein Talamotar. In Torah, there's a whole series of fasts, a whole seder in Hilastainis, how you fast and you daven and you make minyanim outside on the street. There's a whole seder on how to make it rain. That's what the Eibishter wants you to use when it needs to rain. You can't just do whatever you want, start saying Torah. That's not what Torah is made for. How could Rashbi have done such a thing? So the Rebbe answers in the Sikha that Rashbi hat gewusst, as istakel bereise ubora alma. Torah is the blueprint of the world. He was mechadish in Torah. He was saying Mechadish and Torah, that's all. Obviously, once you're Mechadish and Torah, the world's going to change based on the Chiddush and Torah. So, Yeshleimar, first of all, as by Yeder Chossid, that Zayin Klor and Obgelegt, what the Rebbe wants in Shleimus Haaretz, that itself.
That itself is an accomplishment.
Just, Beilam is Yenim. I'm not, some people are behind the Getzat and Nevi'im. Maybe you'll have them on.
We know some of them.
But we believe in Torah. Torah as a Balabasa felt. Hagufa, that's by at least every chassid the Rebbe is an obgelegt the Indian. It's already an accomplishment. Now, Begashmi is practice. If by other chassid is obgelegt the Inyanim and he understands them, there'll be le'yim molit that he won't end up sharing it with someone else, and le'yim molit that it'll change other people's opinions, and le'yim molit will make a difference. There's no question that the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael have a different role to play. I think this is my personal opinion that the Rebbe really expects people in Israel to hit the streets, basically, to make a revolt until the government changes.
The Lubavitchers, the Shluchim?
Every Jew. Are Shluchim Jewish?
Some people say it's not our shlichus, it's not our thing.
In Israel, it's not their shlichus.
Our intent is to be meisef in eir and do mivtzayim.
In Israel, I don't know. Not really sure about that. Maybe. But who are they going to do mivtzayim with if they're getting all hit by rockets? I don't know. Maybe. Doesn't sound right to me. Sounds like baloney.
Mm-hmm. So I guess this is all connected to the way we spoke about before, that a healthy chassid pasha needs to learn, watch, listen to Farbrengens on a regular basis. Like they have to be tuned in to the Rebbe.
It can have Matan Torah, and every day, every hour, whatever, however often. Why would you say no to something like that? Push it from a personal fulfillment point of view. I guess maybe because people who don't, it's hard to them, they don't understand the Sichos, the Yiddish, they're not used to following the Rebbe. That could be a challenge.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, to be able to listen to Farbrengens properly. I mean, obviously, where you have to know Yiddish and you have to know Torah, because the Rebbe speaks a sprach of Torah, so you have to have a background. So if not, you're gonna have to. I mean, things are in English. By the way, I told the people in Sichos in English there's a set Sichos in English, which was Pasha synopsis of the Rebbe's Farbrengens. Like
yeah, I actually learned it with my class last night.
And I think it's out of print. I told them it's like Pasha vital to have it in print. That's my opinion. But fine. So fine. You have to have that. So if you don't have that, you're gonna have to read the translations.
I was going to come back to something. So you're saying about that eventually, when someone gets older, they need to develop a geschmack in Torah.
Right.
Dachtelijk gehet amol van Ayiden, and I see it over here. A guy, I was sitting with a guy over here, 83 years old. He's telling me, and he was 13. Yeah. A Yid, when he was 13, he was 14, he was so into religion and spirituality. I don't know what form, what denomination it was. I mean, it wasn't in Teim Chatzminim. But he says, Rabbi, how can I get back that feeling, that spirit that he had then? And he asked me this more than once. And I told him eventually, I said, Barry, you're not 13, you're 83. You're not going to have the same feeling you had when you were 13 now. You have to find there's a different feeling that you're supposed to have when you're 83. Al derech zeh, the Rabbi Sichos, there's one way you learn it when you're 13, one way you learn it when you're 23, and one way you learn it when you're 33. I mean, are people supposed to just stay the same? So anything meaningful in life until you're 20. From 20 and weiter, the only thing that grows is the Nefesh Bahamas, the Taivas, and the... You're
saying this is how people conduct their lives, you're saying?
I'm asking, does it make any sense? Does it make any sense?
You actually, by the way,
yeah.
You told me a vart once, or you said it, that I actually chazed over. We started off talking about Shambar Lipsker. You told me a vart that I appreciate very much. I don't know if those that know him well agree this is like an analysis. An analysis. Basically, Shambar Lipsker is a Shliach, right?
Yeah.
I was telling some people that I have a connection to, that I went to Menachem Avel, the family. So I was like thinking on the plane. I was thinking about like him. So there's a few things that stuck out about him. I'll just focus on one of them right now. One of them is Pasha's deep skashrus, not just like a skashrus, like a love that doesn't mean anything. Pasha, a love that means that I Pasha have to do what the Rebbe wants, and I have to like do something for the Rebbe, and I have to produce, but then everything that I produce is the Rebbe. I let everyone know this is the Rebbe's accomplishment, like we spoke before. I heard a vart from you that you said there's a hasbara for it. Why is Shambar Lipsker, out of all the people, I mean, he's not the only one, but he sticks out in this way? Why? So you said that I mean, people have been talking about that. Shamba Lipsker had the way he says it is the Rebbe called it a leave of absence, that he had a year when he was in between things in a shlichus, when he was working in the school, Landa Yeshiva, then before he went to Bal Harbor, he had a leave of absence. He was doing some stuff. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing. He alludes to it in his when he talked about it. But one of the things that he did in his year of absence, he pasha came to every Shabbos to Farbrengens.
Yeah.
So you said, says maybe that's why he's such a chassid, because most Lubavitchers, even those that were very, b'seicha inyanim, they did it when they were kids, when they were bachrim. Here's a guy, he's already an adult, he already had hardships of life, he already lived through something, and then he goes as an adult to hear what the Rebbe says as an adult every Farbrengens, but not like just a guy that happens to show up to Farbrengens, like a shliach.
Yeah, he was our age when he did that year. He's like 30.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that could apply more or less
100%.
To some of us. It's like someone that wants to, and then you hear the Rebbe every Shabbos. I think that's how he started the Aleph Institute, because you heard the Rebbe speak about it. I think you're saying the same thing, that you can't rely on what you did as a bacher, or when you were a Mesifta bacher. By the way, in many cases in Lubavitch, they have this peak in Mesifta, and then it goes downhill from there. Baruch Hashem, I think you too. I mean, my best bacher sheyarim when I was elder bacher, when I was already when you're 23, more of an adult. I mean, that's when I probably learned the most and was in tune the most. But like for many people, their inspiration, they're relying on their Mesifta years, or they're relying on their bacher years. So it has to be anchored today in an active form.
100%. 100%. The same way everything else grows, skashus or whatever, chinuch of a person has to grow. The person, you understand things better, you appreciate things more, you have a broader perspective on things, and that's erst where the Rebbe has the Rebbe had the broadest perspective. So you're understanding. I was actually thinking today, a lot of Nakudas the Rebbe says, it's the same Nakuda. Marshal Chanukah Live, Numbeis, that you take a cup of water and you use that. You make by the
first
you use that opportunity to be Megal the Eber's Malchus in the world. You take one cup of water, and what do you use? You take one little kid takes one little cup of water, and what does he use it for? To Megal Malchus the Eber's, that is like Keinu Melech Olam Shakel Niya B'Dvarei. And then there's a vart in El Nun Aleph that every single thing a Yid does is bikurim. Every single thing you do, every machshava, dibur, ma'aseh of a Yid is, since a Yid is b'nei b'chei Yisrael, every single thing a Yid does, he has to realize every thought you have, every word you say is you're serving it as bikurim to the Eibishter. It has to be the most beautiful. There's a similar thing in Mem Zayin when the Rebbe is talking about Vasili Migdash, making Batei Chabad, that every single mind space, every single physical space in your life has to be a Kedesh HaKadoshim, basically. It has to be a Mikdash. So these are similar Nakudas all throughout. But by seeing how it expresses itself in different ways, it's not necessarily how you're going to understand a new Inyan, but another part of you will understand. Another part of, by seeing how a message of the Rebbe is expressed in different ways, it's not necessarily if you're going to understand the message better or understand a new vart of the Rebbe, but people are made up not just of math. Every person has feelings, has asakayches anefesh. By when you listen to the Farbrengen, every time you re-listen, every time you listen to another Farbrengen, another kayach of that person understands what the Rebbe is saying. This is, by the way, this is something the Rebbe talks about Simchas Torah Memvav, the Sikha about the Shliach Mashiach. This is the Rebbe also talks about this Chukas Nun Aleph, And the Rebbe also talks about this, in the Mechlev Kol Yudal Nissen Tav Shenun. Besides, for that every single part of the person has to be fully engulfed by the Rebbe. And so when you're 17 years old, your keiches are not as active, as visible as they are later on. A person has a kid, he starts having a feeling of a father. He doesn't have the feeling of a father before he has a kid. Doesn't mean he doesn't have Ahavas Yisrael. I'm just saying there's certain inyanim in life that in the gas, it's considered as a very abal boss, a very vergrebt, he has yoni ha'olam. But the way the Rebbe looks at it is you have new inyanim that you have to use out for Hashem. You have new inyanim that you have to make a Beis Hamikdash out of. Anyways, I'm just being ma'arech on the nekuda that you mentioned.
Good. So Stam, well, when it comes to watching Farbrengens and listening, so I developed some tools how to do it, begashmis. So first of all, for me, everyone's different, obviously. I'm just saying from my experience. For me, if I'm watching a video, I can watch the flow. I usually have to do something with my hands, whether it's holding a gartel or holding something, whatever. But a video and audio is different. So for audio, I can't listen like driving in the car. So I jot down notes, not for any reason. Just they don't even have to make sense. Just to keep the flow. Why? So a friend of mine once said a vart. He said, you have in the car you have the MPH and you have the RPM.
Yeah, you told me this. I remember this vart.
What does it stand for? RPM?
I don't know. Your vart was taken per minute.
This is it. My friend made it up. Yeah, so RPM is something per minute. I forgot what it stands for. So they said it's something called TPM. So taken per minute. So by these big orators that people like listening to, the taken per minute is very low. So therefore, you can space out and space in, and you still get what the guy's saying. But the Rebbe, it's the exact opposite. The taken per minute is like on the highest level. So that's why if you space out per minute, you could lose the flow. So therefore, you have to stay razor focused. But it's like, and I was never diagnosed, but I probably have ADD like everyone else.
Yeah.
And nevertheless, it's an exercise that I do to listen to Sikha. You have to focus. And then another thing also is that to remember that whenever the Rebbe is speaking, very often the Rebbe opens up a parentheses. The Rebbe is talking. You have to make a mental note that was a parentheses. And the Rebbe could talk about it for 3 minutes. And that's the end of the parentheses. And now the Rebbe is continuing. Those are tips that I picked up just from experience.
So a few artists. First of all, one of the important reasons why. First of all, if you're a chassid, you need to learn from your Rebbe. If you're, yes, Amalek Zeiten, you could only learn a ksav. If the Rebbe is available in audio and video, if you're a chassid, you have to. It's an obligation. You have to hear your Rebbe talk. But also, there's a word about the Rebbe Maras. The Rebbe writes in Rishimus, I think, maybe it's in the Free Rebbe Sichas, that sometimes he would say a few words in the mimer that were not shaykh to the mimer, was shaykh to the person there who needed to hear it, and often he would be the only person who heard it. The same thing with the Rebbe's Farbrengens. If you listen to the Farbrengen, you listen to the Rebbe's voice. You're listening to literally to Moshe Rabbeinu. Every single person will hear something that's shaykh to them. You're going to hear something that nobody else heard. That's something that's not that it's like the Alter Rebbe writes in Akdama. Yeah, technically it exists in the written word also, but what is he writing in the Akdama? If you listen to Farbrengen, you watch Farbrengen, you have a much better chance of being zeicha to hear the Rebbe's talk, to hear the Rebbe talking. The shaykh to you.
The Shalom Bar Lipsker again. We're going back. You were mentioning him. With the whole thing with the Aleph Institute, he said that he was by the Farbrengen, and the Rebbe spoke about the arrestanten, the people in prison. He says he went to Chazara. He says it's not on the Hanacha. And I went to Chazara, and my Chazara, no one mentioned it. And I interrupted the Chazara, and I said, no, like, what about the prisoners?
Yeah.
No one remembered what he was talking about. But whatever, he heard this, and the whole, because he needed to hear it.
Exactly.
So he heard it.
When it gets to techniques, these are that it's very personal. Like, I remember a guy telling me that he was thinking of maybe, it was very hard to him to listen to Farbrengens, so he was thinking maybe to start learning Hanocha beforehand. But then he was sitting by Farbrengen of someone who said, "No way! You have to do it the way people who were there did it. You have to practice listening to it straight out." I think it's baloney. You learn the Farbrengens beforehand, you listen to it, then eventually you listen to it without learning. And you know what? And if a guy never figures out how to listen without learning the Hanocha inside first, what happened there? What's the problem? What's the issue with that? So he learned before.
And by the way, we're not even getting into the other component of listening to Farbrengen. It's shame that there were people that were by the Farbrengen that didn't understand, or they understood, they could have understood, but and they were there, and that's part of Chassidus. I remember I missed the whole Geshe Mendel situation. By the time I was older, he was not Farbrengen, and maybe I wasn't in the right place, whatever. But I remember one time he was by a chasana, and he started Farbrengen. So he started saying, "Keiner versteht nicht dem Rebbe."
Yeah.
And he's going on, "Keiner versteht nicht dem Rebbe." And he says, "Yale meint as versteht." That's a whole nother darge that you have to be by the Rebbe and listen to the Rebbe. It's not about you on this. It's not even what it's about.
Yeah.
That's a plus. It's a benefit, or it's a minus. Whatever. You have to be in front of the Rebbe, saying it's an act. It's an experience. It's a ruchni. It's a ruchstik.
There's another sugya. This could go on for a whole night. Consistent of the ganze Nacht, like they say. I was talking. I was going to the oil. I was going for one of the days. I don't remember when it was. And this gentleman said that he's not going because he's gone in the past, but it just doesn't do it for him. What does that mean? It doesn't do it. You're a chossid. You have to be by the Rebbe. What are you expecting it to do for you? At some point, it's not all about how we feel. Feelings are not such a stable thing. A guy misses breakfast, feels terrible. Guy, even logical conclusions are not so stable. A guy gets paid $10,000, he changes his mind. I mean, are we really going to base our whole Yiddishkeit off every stomachache and every thought that crosses our mind? But Farbrengen should never be like that for a person. I mean, Farbrengen is partial begashmi, so should be enjoyable. But I'm just saying that it's manocha. That everything has to be whatever makes me feel good and feel happy and feel accepted and feel peaceful. There's no question. Yid should have menuchas hanefesh. I feel in the regoyim achreinim from Golos, like the Rebbe says. But
Rebbe says the hira and Rebbe should be kesef and acheshes, right? Kesef zav and acheshes.
Yeah, but the bigger question is, you're talking about suicides. I'm not a mumche in suicides. No one should.
We'll make a disclaimer that we're not professionals, and
no one should ever be a mumche in suicides, and but there's a musig of mali kat lekula, mali kat lepaga. People commit suicide by. What was I just listening to? What was the word that I was saying? I forgot already. That. Anyways, but the Nakuda is. I got blank. Okay, should I guess unless we will zog. What was I? What was we
You're
starting
talking
to
about
say?
suicides.
Oh, yes, Shleimar. What people need is they don't need to be told. They don't need to be told how beautiful they are. They don't need to be told how wonderful they are. Maybe also, that's fine. Their mother could tell them that. Maybe their mashpia could also tell them that. But generally, what people need is they need to have what they say purpose, or better yet, achrayis. They need to have a responsibility. People with responsibilities have a lot easier time getting through other things. If you know that you have a family counting on you, you have Talmidim counting on you, you have Mashiach is counting on you to do your part, that is much more empowering than just telling people that they have a beautiful neshama, or they distort this Rebbe Sikha about every Yid is an Admur, right? They think, well, I don't even understand what that does for someone exactly. Anyways,
They're distorting it, or they're trying to say that you matter, you're amazing, you have the.
if I tell you inside you, there's an Albert Einstein waiting to come out, does that make you feel good? I mean, it's basically it's leg larosh. If we're telling someone he's
So
an
what
Admur.
was the Rebbe's kavanah with that sikha?
I was just learning Perek Beis Tanya today, and it says that basically the Rebbe's we're like part of the body. The Rebbe's the head, and we're the part of the body. So yes, we have the blood flow. It circulates through the whole body, and there's whatever. Every yid has a nitzas Mashiach, like the Rebbe
Yeah,
says. Imek Chossid Rebbe. There's no question. The way we're kol, and we're also each one of our neshamas is kol in the Rebbe.
right.
So
Yeah, so you had the yid is a Rebbe. Yeah,
that is
that's
a
okay.
shtickle Rebbe, but
Okay, so you're saying that in a purpose or achrayis.
So what was I going to say about achrayis? So you open up, look at Hayim Yoim. The first, before you even open Hayim Yoim, you saw that ket over there in the beginning? Every person has to ask themselves every
You're about
single day,
the event for Mashiach.
what did I do to Leich the Chevel Mashiach? It sounds a little archaic because it's talking about World War II, but just
The
the
war, yeah.
Holocaust. But think about it for a second. The Rebbe is basically, this is while Jews are being gassed by the millions. And what's the message? What's the message that the Rebbe is giving every Jew that opens Hayim Yom before they even start to the calendar? What's the message? Not that Hashem still loves us and we don't understand it. Not the language. What are you doing today to Mashiach? What are you doing to solve the Holocaust? How are you going to stop the Holocaust from happening? What are you doing right now to bring Mashiach? Tafshin Gimel, this is the Rebbe telling people. Obviously, the best way for people to live is waking up every morning and saying, "What am I doing right now, myself, to bring Mashiach?" I mean, later on, the Rebbe says it's clearly about Mashiach. But I'm just saying, already there, you see the there's a Holocaust happening. What are you doing What are you doing in Brooklyn to stop the Holocaust? Why can't you just tell? Why can't you tell the Yid? If you put on tefillin, you're going to be yachid, yichid l'kam, imal mamish, together with the Eibishter. It's going to be a yichud nifla, a yichud nitzchi. No. What are you? When he puts on tefillin, he has to bear the whole burden of a Holocaust, the middle of happening on his shoulders. Obviously, I was rolling through a letter to it doesn't have a name. They took out the name in Chilkid Aleph. The Rebbe says, first of all, it took such a long time since I got you. Why such a big break in between letters? And second of all, you didn't write that you were by the Yud Beis Tamas Farbrengen. I'm assuming that you were there. You know that it says that Farbrengen can ufta ma'achol can shufta. Ayin shom in the sichos. So the Rebbe is, first of all, start writing letters more often. Second of all, start showing up to Farbrengens. Third of all, go look up at the sicha again, learn about what a Farbrengen is. And then the Rebbe goes and talks about how Chazit Tatit, that the technical block of the from parties, what he wants, what he doesn't want, should go into the coalition, should not go into the coalition, leaves him with the responsibility of taking care of the whole all Israeli politics, and then at the end is something else. That's the best thing. A lot of responsibility, but it's also, I mean, that also means that the Rebbe cares to hear from him more often. The Rebbe cares if he's by a Farbrengen. The Rebbe cares. It works both ways as well. Anyways, so
it was like, what about people that take, like, oh my gosh, there's so much responsibility, so much achrayus, I can't take it. They just want to sit on the beach.
They can't take it. What could they take?
You're saying no one ever enjoyed sitting on the beach for an extended period of time without any purpose? Not yet.
They can't take it. They don't enjoy it. I mean, these are inyonim that. What was the letter of the guy? I don't know if it says it in this language. The guy said he wanted his kid to go to the public school, and then he'll teach him with a Kaddish at home or something. Certain things happen on their own. You don't need to make a special message for them. You don't need to make a special message for kids to play soccer or whatever, to play ball. They'll play ball. They'll figure it out. People are going to take their vacations. They're going to do this stuff. What they're not going to do is their responsibilities they're not going to do. So the Rebbe writes to people to have to set aside a half a day for teal, to take a walk for Bria Saguf. But
so basically, Pasha the Eibishter gave us a matana, and we have a Rebbe that gives us a mandate. Rebbe gives every Yid a mandate, and Rebbe gives every Chassid Avada a mandate. And plugging into that is the best for you beruchnis and begashmis. Saying it's that's the way forward.
That's the way that. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen when Mashiach comes? What's going to happen? We'll be listening to the. We're going to hear the Rebbe Farbrengens with us the whole time. That's when Mullah Oretz there. What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be I don't know, another speaker.
Yeah,
we're learning Teirasei Shel Mashiach, Piv Shel Mashiach. I mean, that's what we're going to be doing the whole time. I remember David Feldman, Zachar Lateiv, was Farbrengen Amol about we have to get used to listening to my morim, because the Rebbe come in Chazan Maimer, no one's going to know. People are going to be lost. You won't know how to follow. We won't be mefaret after that. But anyways,
this is what it says about Chassidus Bechlal, that it's a te'ime of Teirasei Shel Mashiach. So this is what the Rebbe was doing from Tafshin Yud Aleph to Tafshin and Beis. The Rebbe is giving us a taste and a prelude to.
You know what the Rebbe writes against HaKadosh, that when Mashiach comes, we're not going to learn Nigla anymore. We're going to know it all from Chassidus. So we're basically going to be either listening to the Rebbe say Farbrengen or reviewing the Farbrengen of the Rebbe. That's going to be a Mesa Mashiach.
Okay, looking forward, and Yashikeach, and it should be a B'Karav Mamish.
Amen.